There's few websites in the history of the internet that have been as influential as 4chan. So much so that ideas and language originating from the site have penetrated seemingly every aspect of Western culture. You'll constantly see people making references to things originating from or popularized on 4chan without even realizing it. You might even unknowingly do it yourself sometimes. So it's no surprise that 4chan stories have long been a staple of this channel. Today, let's take a look at some of the classic 4chan stories I've covered over the years. This video is sponsored by Rocket Money. Do you ever have 2 subscriptions to the same service and not even realize it? Alright, there's a good chance that I am uniquely stupid in this regard, but there's a chance I'm not. And if that's so, let me introduce you to Rocket Money. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that allows you to manage subscriptions, lower bills, make a custom budget, and grow your savings all in one place. One great feature of Rocket Money is that it automatically makes a list of all your subscriptions. You know, nowadays basically everything you use tries to push you onto a subscription plan so they're making money from you forever. And when you get this list, you'll likely find that you haven't used a lot of these things for a long time. And in that way, Rocket Money basically pays for itself. In fact, when using all of the app's premium features, users have saved as much as $740 in a year. Across the entire user base, it's $500 million in subscriptions saved. Rocket Money can also scan your bills and find savings. You can set custom budgets, and you can automate a strategy to maximize your savings. Take control of your finances today. Just scan the QR code or click the link in my description to get started for free. There are no women on the internet. That used to be a big meme on 4chan back in the day, and when I get to the end of this video, you might say, wow, they're actually right. But first, let's take a look at some pictures. This is the perfect family picture. Till you see it. I don't know, it looks pretty normal to me. 2 happy parents, 1 happy kid, and 3 kids who are kind of like, eh. Oh wait, there it is. A wide-eyed, shiny gentleman, buried in the couch underneath the mom, like that one Edogawa Rampo's story. Okay, how about this picture of a foggy street? You see anything out of the ordinary? Oh, there's a T-Rex lurking in the mist. That's not something you'd usually see. This format, when you see it you'll shit bricks, or mindfuck images, was a really popular image format back in the mid-2000s. A subgenre of the demotivational poster meme that had been going strong for several years, as memes did back then. It's kind of like playing a game of Where's Waldo, but with a spooky little twist. You see that caption and you know immediately that there's going to be something creepy or at least unusual going on. But it's not immediately obvious what that is. And as time went on, people would play off this expectation to misdirect you. Like you got this one where there's a red circle, but there's nothing in the circle. And then you look down and oh no, it's a demonic soy jack in the floor. And of course, there's also the ones where you think it's gonna be one of these and you're looking, and then all of a sudden a spooky face pops up, and it was a GIF the whole time. I definitely got by a few of those back in the day. Well, how about this one? Perfection. When you see it, you'll shit bricks. And it's a girl in bed in pink floral underwear. Whoa, easy there, bud. Don't go off to your bunk and start killing kittens just yet. We got a mystery to solve. What exactly are we supposed to be seeing here? The mattress tag? The flowers in the background? What if I told you? That's a dead body. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the story of Perfection Girl. This was a story that I set out to cover several years ago, but at the time there just wasn't enough to it where I felt like I could make a decent video out of it. I don't know what it was that made me think about it again, but this time I found a lot more. Stuff that was previously lost to time, including the guy who most likely wrote the original copy pasta. And I also finally figured out, after almost 20 years, the actual reason that we were supposed to shit bricks about this. So for those unfamiliar with this meme, Perfection Girl was this woman who was in a series of 3 photos depicting her in bed in pink underwear. She's a good looking girl, but that in and of itself is unremarkable. You know, if I made a video that was like, okay, so there was this girl on 4chan 20 years ago, and she kind of looked good. That was the video, you should just put me down like a dog. No, this is of interest because despite very clearly looking alive, she's supposedly dead. By the time I first noticed this girl getting reposted on 4chan all the time back in the day, it had already become this meme where the picture gets posted and then people are like, oh, this story, it's so sad. It's sad, but it's true. But nobody's going into the specifics. You just get a whole big thread of people going, oh, I know this story, it's sad, but it's true. And no elaboration, and some people kind of get what's going on there, but other people would just get more and more annoyed and be like, no, tell me what the story is then. And if you said the story was fake, people would just reply, she is really dead. I know the story behind it. It's quite sad but true. So where did this come from? Now, due to the nature of 4chan, it could be hard to pin down an exact time frame. I've seen people say that they've noticed this as far back as 2005. And I think that's probably true, but as far as I can tell, the pictures, the meme, and the copy pasta didn't really pop off until later in 2007. Her Encyclopedia Dramatic article was created that August, and points to the origin of it being a Mindfuck Images thread. People are posting a thread full of stuff like the ones I showed you in the intro, and then one of the posts winds up being perfection. When you see it, you'll shit bricks. And nobody could figure out what the trick is with this one. People are looking at this thing under a microscope and it's like, is it the mattress tag? Is there like a pink ribbon thing next to her? Is that something? Maybe it's supposed to be that she's wearing a cross while half naked on the internet. Some people thought she was a real doll, which, I mean, they look kind of convincing now, but this is what real dolls looked like in 2007. Another theory was that this was some kind of social commentary. That there being fake water drops on the flowers means it's talking about how online perfection is phony and contrived. Holy shit, dude, you just blew my mind. Which, you know, I mean, you say that now and it sounds like some fake deep Banksy type bullshit, but this is like the pre-Instagram world still, so this kind of thing is a thought that people hadn't really contended with yet. At least not to the degree where it's become really a trite thing to say now. Basically though, people investigating this image derails the entire thread. And some guy comes around and says, "Good job. You've been fapping to a dead chick." Come on, don't be silly. There's no way that chick's dead. This is very much the face of an alive person, right? Like, this is so plainly obvious an alive woman, but then people are getting gaslit in real time as people are noticing little details. Like, she's got that wristband on. And they're like, hey, isn't that the bracelet they put on you in the morgue? Or as an ID for coma patients? Why are there flowers in this bed? Is she being prepared for her funeral? You know, you gotta have your good bra and panties on with your eyes wide open for the open casket. Eventually, people find a CBC article from the year 2000. A group of teens between 15 and 19 years old had been partying at a cabin in Newfoundland. They find the key to another cabin next door and they discover a bunch of unlabeled bottles full of green liquid. They assume that this liquid is moonshine. It was not moonshine. After drinking the mystery fluid, most of them became extremely sick and 2 of them died. The owners of the cabin would tell CBC that they had a jug of antifreeze that broke, so they put what they could save in the bottles that the partygoers thought was liquor. Which, I mean, I get it. While it may not be as inviting as Fabuloso, antifreeze does look delicious in kind of the same way that a bear looks friend-shaped. Although the victims named in the article were all male, posters on B would often claim that the girl was one of the other partygoers that wasn't named in the article. Then on October 16th of 2007, a different story would emerge. A guy makes a thread asking if he's a necrophile for jerking off to a dead body. And while there were those who are like, come on, we're gonna do the same thread again, half the thread is people going, she's not dead. Yes, she is. No, she's not. Then another guy comes in and says, she is really dead. I know the story behind. It's quite sad but true. This was the first appearance of a line that would become a key part of the meme. Some people are saying he's full of shit, other people think he's talking about the CBC article, and he's swearing he's got the real story. I knew her about 3 years ago. The story is both sad and true. She was my first and only love. So sad, so true. So then people are like, alright then, tell us the story, buddy. And he does. Okay, here's the story of the girl. Yes, it was in Canada, and yes, she did die from drinking antifreeze. But that CBC story is not it. Her name was Mary Ann Yaelzebub, and she was at a party. It was not at a cabin, but at a college senior's apartment in Vancouver. His little brother had apparently spiked some drinks with antifreeze to try to get all the girls drunk really fast, but didn't realize it was poison and could kill them. The only one who actually drank any was Mary Ann, and she had already had some drinks before then. She got really weird drunk and started complaining about not being able to see anything. She, the guy, the senior's little bro, not the senior, convinced her to strip down and pose for some pictures. He left to get his camera, and when he came back, he asked if it would be alright to snap some pictures. She didn't say anything, so he assumed it was okay, and he took 1 or 2 pics. He then asked if she would change her position and pose, but she still didn't say anything, so he moved her around. As he took the pictures, he was uploading them on the computer. It wasn't until he had snapped 4 pictures that he realized she wasn't breathing. The 4th picture, he had pulled her bra off. That one is very rare. But anyway, after that, he found she was dead and panicked and called an ambulance. But the pictures were already up on the internet. When her mom found out, she got scared and was quoted as saying, "I'm your dream, my destroyer. I'm your eyes while you're away. I'm your pain while you repay. You know it's sad but true." Yeah, you just got Metallica aired. Most of you probably remember this, but for those of you who don't, there's this meme called Bel Airing people. You're telling a long, detailed story, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, at the end, it turns into the Fresh Prince theme. It's kind of like the Loch Ness Monster jokes.
And he said, I need about 350.
Or his name is John Cena stuff. So the author of this just did that with Metallica. He even made the name Yaelzebub, which is Bel Air spelled backwards. Now, in this original thread, it's incredibly obvious that this wasn't meant to be taken seriously. Someone immediately copies and pastes his post, and then he goes, WTF, I got copy pasted that quick? I'm honored. And someone else replies and tries to keep the kayfabe going. She's is really Mary Ann. I do not know family name, but I suppose it's not Yaelzebub. I made up the name Mary Ann. If that girl's name really is Mary Ann, or Mary Ann, or Mary Ann, then I must have godly luck. Oh well, it was worth a try. The majority of the thread after this point is just people repeating variations of, I know the story, it's quite sad but true. It's like that episode of The Simpsons where they put Bart in special ed and he calls the teacher cuckoo, and then all the other kids start going cuckoo, cuckoo. So at that point, this copy pasta becomes a defining piece of the Perfection Girl meme. The name Marianne Yaelzebub sticks, and when someone asks for an explanation, they get the copy pasta. Sometimes with the Metallica joke at the end, sometimes without it. And although it was completely obvious to everyone in the original thread that this was a fake joke story, over time, through new people seeing the copy pasta over and over again, some would come to believe that this was actually the true story. Some people even seeing the version with the Metallica joke and thinking it was real. So the analysis of the picture continues. Some people are saying that you can tell from the red eye in the pictures that she's alive, because that doesn't happen on dead people. Or you can look at her skin tone and tell. Or the fact that there's two other pictures in different positions. But still, some people weren't fully convinced. Dead, hands, fingers in the same position. Sick Necro took the pictures. And we all know sick Necros touch death bodies and play with them. So fixing her legs in a position or her arms isn't very hard to do. Red eyes, blood doesn't simple disappears from a body unless you cut a vein/artery, so blood will still remain in the eye, making your OMG WTF BBQ, Jesus Christ, OMG WTF BBQ. I don't think I've seen that acronym in like 10 years. OMG WTF BBQ, red eye blood camera flash theory useless. Face is in a rest position. All facial muscles are relaxed. That's what dead people do. They don't use facial muscles. And I'm not talking about the jaw muscle. I'm talking about muscles right below the skin, which give you expression. Any type of skin color chemical can be used to give dead skin a more lively look. If they set a recently dead up for display, it almost looks like he's alive. Now to me, this is still all obviously ridiculous and just jokes. But you see enough people take it seriously and you start to second guess yourself. And at the end of the day, I think this is pretty obvious, but what do I know? I'm not a doctor. You know who is though? Friend of the channel, Chubby Emu, so I asked him his opinion. The antifreeze part is kind of weird. It says she claimed she couldn't see, so he'd be looking at methanol. Ethylene glycol is the other thing in antifreeze, but that causes kidney damage, pain in the sides, and bloody urine. Both methanol and ethylene glycol by themselves aren't toxic, but rather the body breaks them down into something toxic. We know this because the antidote to both of these is the regular alcohol we drink in liquor, ethanol. Ethanol blocks both methanol and ethylene glycol from being broken down, and they're eliminated in the body as is. Methanol breathed out from the lungs and urinated out, and ethylene glycol urinated out. When the methanol starts to get broken down, there's usually a period when the person will start hyperventilating. It's pretty noticeable. This usually starts hours after the ingestion, so it takes some time and doesn't happen instantaneously. Also during this time, the person's actions should be obvious that something's wrong. Vomiting, salivating, confusion, abdominal pain, far from being able to pose perfectly for a picture. And if enough time has passed that the methanol has turned the person blind, i.e. caused permanent brain damage, they would probably still be hyperventilating up to the point where they do stop breathing in extreme poisonings. All this to say that antifreeze part might be kinda doubtful. So then someone could say she was already dead. Hard to tell from a picture because in person you'd still check breathing and circulation, things that can be done near instantly. I wouldn't take too much stock in stuff like skin complexion here, because cameras can throw off white balance, especially when room lighting and the camera's flash don't match. And it looks like the flash went off in one of the pictures. Maybe I'm just looking at the antifreeze part too closely, but she would look a lot sloppier if she really did die from antifreeze ingestion, and someone posed her for some pics. So I think that's a pretty compelling explanation as to why this is definitely not a picture of a person who died from antifreeze, and it's probably a picture of a person who is not dead in general. I also happened to find the person who most likely came up with the copy pasta. In a post back in 2018, Dulst writes, "No, seriously, I am actually the author of the Marianne Realib copy pasta. Sure, Perfection Girl was around for a while before I wrote her awful backstory. I honestly never thought it would stick around this long. Surf wisely." This post went by basically unnoticed and only got 6 likes. And of course, anyone could just say anything on Twitter. And in fact, on that note, he had actually mentioned it again, this time quoting the original fake RDM Kid post that I spoke about a few months ago. And this also went by mostly unnoticed. Not sure which one had more impact, Poochie and Pansy or the Marianne Realib copy pasta. Surf wisely. When I came across this post, I saw this guy was already following me, so I sent him a message about it. After confirming that I wasn't a scam account, he told me that he really was the author of the copy pasta and he actually had a ton of stuff archived from this time. One of them being the original thread that this appeared in, and also a fake MySpace account that he made for her, and I actually feel like I remember seeing. He said he came up with the name Mary Ann because he saw someone else in the thread mention it, and the last name Relieb of course because of the Bel Air thing that he wanted to make a Metallica thing instead. The overall concept was of course inspired by the CBC article. And he also noticed that there were some changes made to the copy pasta after his original post. Another thing I've noticed about the copy pasta is the addition of "after doing what he does best." That part was not written by me. Some other anon added that after the fact, which when you see that version of the copy pasta, that line comes between him taking her bra off and calling the police. So I understand why he wanted to make it really clear that he's not the one that wrote that part. And once again, especially with 4chan being anonymous, anyone can kind of say anything, but considering how much stuff he had about this just saved and ready to go, he gave me all this stuff really quickly, and he's posted about it a couple times. I can't fathom that a person would put that much effort into faking being responsible for a somewhat obscure meme for several years. So shout out to Dulst, he provided me with a lot of stuff that made this video better than it was going to be. He created the series Poochie and Pansy, which has a very old school Newgrounds or albino black sheep vibe, so go check that out. So now all this leaves us with is who actually is this woman herself. There's not a lot of clues. The green wristband that people thought meant she was a coma patient was said to be from Leeds Fest in the UK. And the tag on the mattress is written in German. You can see the word Betten in there, which is German for bed. So could she be German? Did she travel to the UK from Germany to go to this festival? Or maybe she just lives somewhere completely else and went to the UK and just has German bedding. So I don't think we're ever gonna find out who this woman is unless she decides one day that she really wants people to know it's her. My gut is telling me that she's German. She looks German to me, but who knows? After almost 20 years, I finally realized why we are supposed to shit bricks about this picture. A lot of the women watching this video probably figured it out immediately. Some of you probably already typed a comment about it before you got to this part. It was so obvious, but not to me or anybody else on 4chan apparently, because we're all guys. I only ever found this out by reading the comments on shitbricks.com. It's not the flowers, it's not the mattress, but she's definitely not dead. You know how I know this? Because she's on her period. You can see her pad through her underwear. That's what we were supposed to see. Basically, this only ever became a meme because there really were no women on 4chan. Have you ever wound up with a bad case of the gamer leg? In case you don't know what I'm talking about, take a look at this post that's been going around recently. And like a lot of people, I was wondering what this actually is. Because see, to the best of my knowledge, this man is not blue cheese flavored, nor is he cookies and cream flavored, and he probably doesn't taste like blueberry muffins. I haven't tasted it myself, so I can't say for sure, but it seems unlikely. And the more this image spread, the more theories I saw about what this actually is. Most of them completely off the mark. But as it turns out, the owner of this leg actually came out to tell the real story. So for today's episode of Tales from the Internet, let's take a look at a condition known as gamer leg. You might be surprised to hear that I've seen a lot of gross shit in my time online, but there's always specifically been something about diseases that actually bothers me extra. I don't know what it is, I've just been always a little more skeeved out by it than most other stuff on gore sites that people consider worse. I think it's just something about the unknown factor here. You look at it and you're like, is this contagious? Will I get it? Is there anything that I can do to prevent myself from getting it? And this one has no context, it's just a caption that says, anyone else have gamer leg? And it just looks straight zombified. You got patches of gray skin with scabs and open sores. And among all the jokes, people are really trying to figure out what this is. It's clearly not something that a little moisturizer will help, even if you pay top dollar for the drunken elephant stuff. One suggestion that I saw a lot was the bubonic plague. And you might be like, wait a minute, I thought they wiped out the bubonic plague in the Middle Ages. They didn't. In fact, it still exists all over the world, including the western half of the US. On average, we get 7 cases a year. These cases generally come from flea bites from fleas that were carried by rodents. That being said though, the bubonic plague is actually very treatable now, and it's very rare to actually die if you get it. And it looks nothing like this leg. The leg looks worse than the plague. Another common theory that I saw that this was the effects of poorly managed diabetes. Issues in the feet and legs from diabetes can manifest in a lot of different ways, but they generally don't look like this leg. Probably of everything I saw suggested, the closest match was scabies. Scabies, if you've forgotten from health class, is a parasitic infection that you sometimes get as an STD, but you can actually get it from any prolonged skin-to-skin contact. And some of the more severe cases do kind of resemble this, but the gamer leg picture clearly has a lot of necrotizing skin. On occasion, you will see a case of scabies where that happens, but it's super rare, something like 4% of cases. And when it does manifest, it's usually not as severe as this leg. But here's the thing, while we're all having our minds blown by this picture of a limb that looks like it was handcrafted by Tom Savini, myself included, for members of the fighting game community, this was old news. This was already an important piece of ancient lore. As it turns out, the leg belonged to a pro gamer named Marn. Marn had competed since 2005 and was most known for Guilty Gear. He also competed in various Street Fighter and Marvel vs. titles, as well as a Dragon Ball title. So technically, it really was gamer leg. The gamer leg situation came to be in July of 2014. Marn had been posting about this condition, showing the onset until it developed into the infamous gamer leg picture. The picture starts to make the rounds first inside the fighting game community, and then it breaches containment, spilling out all over the internet. In particular, this one post on r/WTF blows up. A top 5 hospital in the country doesn't even know WTF this is. The comments were filled with a lot of same speculation that we all saw in the recent posts, with the addition of some other theories, like one that was posted about a woman with a condition who made her suddenly grow fingernails instead of hair. But this time, Marn himself came to set the record straight. Hi, that's my leg. To clear up the lies and bullshit about everything posted here, I decided to post the real story. 3 weeks prior to making this post, he noticed some bumps on his foot that he thought were mosquito bites. This wound up spreading throughout his arms, his legs, and his butt. The doctors told him this was a condition called HS purpura. HS purpura is a type of vasculitis that causes a distinct purple rash. Basically, the blood vessels in your skin, intestines, kidneys, and joints get inflamed and they bleed inside of you. The doctor told him that this isn't contagious, and he gave him an antibiotic and steroid to treat it. He was also tested for diabetes and his blood work was fine. And note that it's important to the story that the doctor told him it's not contagious, because shortly after he would be attending a major tournament, and some people would accuse him of knowingly spreading an infectious disease. In fact, from what I saw, some people still think that's what happened. In any case, the doctor advised him to not go to the tournament just because his body's going through a lot, he needs rest. But he went anyway. It wasn't a great decision. During the day, it feels fine, slowly deteriorating until nighttime where I couldn't even walk. At night, it's unbearable burning pain where I couldn't even sleep. I never had fevers, chills, or anything, just intense burning, throbbing pain. I'd sat down and played blackjack for a couple hours into the morning because it hurt to lay down. Unfortunately, I got up from blackjack and felt really dizzy, blacking out on the casino floor for a couple of minutes. Afterwards, I got up and felt completely refreshed. Some people suggested that he tried to soak with Epsom salts to help with the pain, but it didn't really do that much. Eventually, the pain gets so severe that he has to go to the ER. They give him an IV, fill him up with some antibiotics, they run some tests, and his blood work and ultrasound look fine. These doctors advise him to go see UCLA Medical, and that visit came sooner than expected. Later that night, he had to go to the ER because his pain was so severe, on top of throwing up the contents of an empty stomach. So his friend takes him to the UCLA emergency room at 6 a.m. And basically he just goes through the same procedure again, IV, antibiotics, tests. Once again, everything looks fine. They give him something to numb his stomach pain and tell him to set up an appointment with a dermatologist. And at the time of his post, he was waiting for that appointment. So now I just wait till Tuesday. The pus is oozing out by itself with a foul, rotten smell, but it's all scabbing up. At night, my left leg still gives out on me. That's basically it. Only pusses from my legs, but there's spots all over my legs and arms. He would later come back and edit the post to address claims that he picked up the disease in Vietnam. I did go to Vietnam from January to April of this year. This happened last week of June. I haven't been sick much in my life. My parents and brother have never had this. I had chickenpox when I was young, Everything depends on the appointment on Tuesday, I guess. Oh, and Marina ER doctor says she thinks it's vasculitis with a secondary infection, but not sure. Tuesday would arrive and he would come back to the thread with an update. Went to the dermatologist of UCLA today. They didn't even seem worried. Said it was vasculitis or PLEVA. They cut into my leg and arm for 2 different biopsies, stitched it up, and sent me on my way. They prescribed me a month's worth of doxycycline, which I can't afford, so I'm probably going to die. Then they brought in 3 to 4 UCLA medical students to look at my stuff and explained why it's probably PLEVA/vasculitis and stuff. So PLEVA is described by the National Library of Medicine as follows. PLEVA is a relatively benign cutaneous disorder of unclear origin that affects children and young adults. Patients present with a spontaneous eruption of erythematous macules that evolved into papules, rapidly undergoing hemorrhagic necrosis and ulceration. It generally just goes away on its own, but that can take weeks or it can take years, and sometimes just comes back out of nowhere. It's also important to note that they don't really know what causes it. When I made the short versions of this video for TikTok and Instagram, I noticed a lot of comments because he's a bigger dude that, oh man, now I'm so scared, I'm never gonna let myself get to that point. And it's good to be fit for a lot of reasons, but in this case, it probably won't save you. Although they don't know exactly what causes this, there is some evidence that it might be a weird immune response to some kind of viral or bacterial infection, or possibly the medicine used to treat such infections. But they haven't been able to identify exactly how it works. In any case, Martin's leg did clear up, he didn't get it amputated, he didn't make tacos out of it. And as far as I know, he didn't die. I saw a few people saying that he did die, but I think that stems from this joke memorial video that came out in 2012. But anyway, that's the story behind Gamerleg. Something that I'd hear a lot when covering the My Little Pony jar guy was, wow, that's a lot of dedication to fill that jar up. Even after you got tired of the joke, just out of sense of duty, because you made a promise to 4chan. You know, to slog through that, you gotta be shooting powder. Well, if you think the My Little Pony jar guy was committed to the bit, wait until you hear about the guy that went for close to a decade. A 4chan user who is considered by many to be the progenitor of every such project. A man who had his own holiday. This is the story of Jesus Christ. There's a lot of holidays that people like to celebrate this time of year. As I'm recording this, we're in the middle of Hanukkah. And of course you got Christmas and Festivus. But then on December 26th, there's a holiday. I'm not talking about Boxing Day. I'm talking about Jizmas. See, on 4chan, someone special came every year. And it wasn't Santa. It was the cum bottle guy, aka the cum collector guy, aka Jesus Christ, who with him brought a special kind of holiday cheer. It begins in 2007 with a post on B. 4 plastic bottles, 1 larger one and 3 smaller ones, all of them completely filled except for the 4th one, which was just getting started, containing what appears to be a yellowish beige fluid, presumably cum. A piece of paper had B written on it and the date 12/26/07. I wasn't able to find an archive of the original thread, perhaps because at this point nobody realized how important this would be. But at this point, this sort of behavior was relatively unprecedented. We're 5 years before the cum box. We're 7 years before the Pony Project. We're well before the point where any of the other cum artifacts would become infamous. It is a post that changes the course of history, changes the very nature of the world we live in. And December 26th would come around next year, and he would return with more bottles. And the next year, 3 bigger bottles. At this point, it's become established as a ritual. Forget about Boxing Day, now it's all about Jizmas. Now that special time comes around on the 26th, and people are furiously refreshing B to see it as it comes. They're furiously refreshing B so as not to miss it. And like clockwork, he'd be there with even more jizz in his trademark filthy gray carpet. But of course, with anything like this, you have to ask, is it real or are we being bamboozled? Well, of course, there were the true believers, there's also doubters. 07, 08, 09, 10, 11. I also really doubt this is real. I can't say I'm much of an expert on the subject, but I'd imagine semen will either dry out or grow mold after a few months. Even if this guy is keeping it frozen or whatever. I'm an expert at bottled semen and this is real. It's so fake. I tried doing this, but it all just goes dark brown, then black after a few weeks. Why though? To prove it's fake? Because I was 18 at the time and full of cum. Something else though that people are noticing is the sediment at the bottom of the bottles. Throughout the years, some people theorized that the sediment was a yeast of some sort, maybe some kind of byproduct from some kind of brewing process, while others thought that was just what happens. Why does the last one have bubbles in it? Wish I could cum bubbles. I'm no scientist, but I think it has something to do with decaying organic matter and fermentation. Does that mean it could turn to cum wine? Would you drink the cum wine? I feel like a lot of you would. In any case, say this is for real. How much would it take for someone to actually achieve this? Several people throughout the years have thought to try and mathematically solve the mystery of the cum bottles, tracking the yearly estimated amounts versus the total in graphs with varying assumptions about when he actually started the project. You have one user who, based on the average ejaculate for a 24-year-old, the sizes of the bottles, and their growth, guessed that he would have to be nutting 1.33333 times a day to fill these bottles. This tradition would continue through the 7th coming of Jesus in 2013. He noted that there wasn't too much more this year because he was getting laid, but in any case, the 7th coming was perhaps the one that spread it out the most throughout the entire internet, perhaps because of the catchy little name. But then in 2014, things would be a little different. Merry Jizmas, I have returned. As you can see, the oldest bottle has taken a turn for the worse. I opened it to fill these holy water bottles with a syringe. Fresh air must have fucked it all up. Anyway, I made an experimental noisy sound collage microcassette that comes with a little holy water bottle of my cum from bottle number 1, limited to 6 copies. I have no idea how I'll get them in your hands, but anyway, they exist and are for you. Also, I don't know if I'll be able to keep going on this whole thing. My living situation intensifies in its complication. I'll do what I can though. It's unclear if anyone actually received these packages. I've seen posts claiming that they have, but no actual proof. And I haven't been able to find and upload this music anywhere. There's other projects calling themselves Jizzes, but they don't seem to line up with what this is. But now that he said he's not sure if he can continue this, 2015 rolls around and things start to get a little interesting. Now you've got this will he, won't he question, and it's getting later and later in the day. And then he comes, and he's got more cassettes. No wait, actually this is just last year's picture Photoshop. It's not him. So now the 27th is quickly approaching. You got people saying that it's over, and he said it might be over, while others are pointing out that last time he also posted later than usual. But at a certain point, people start to accept it. My first Jizmas was very disappointing, but I will be looking forward to it next year. During my wait, I was in good company among friends. Perhaps that's what St. Jizzes wanted, us to come together for one day and wait for Jizz to come. I'm going to sleep now. Hopefully he doesn't come while I am sleeping, but I would be cool with that if he chose to come with my fellow friends. Anons. Thank you and Merry Jizmas. So Jizmas came and went and didn't happen. But then on the 31st, B gets a surprise visitor. I have returned B, but a lot has happened since the last time I posted. He has a pair of small bottles, saying that this is all that remains of his collection after an incident with his now ex-girlfriend. Is your ex now your ex because she found your jizz bottles, or for some other reason? There were other tensions leading up to the breakup, but the discovery of my collection was the last straw. Of course, they also put him up to drinking it, and he obliges, with photo proof including shots of it inside of his mouth. And with that, he says it's time to start a new collection. But was this really him? I'm not convinced. That carpet is similar enough if you're going off of memory, but I've been staring at this for hours now. It's clearly a different carpet. But you know, maybe he moved out. Well, the handwriting also appears to be completely different. Observe how much more space this guy puts between his slashes and the letter B, and how the circle on Jizzes' letter B points upward, while this guy's points downward. Additionally, this guy's 0 is open at the top, while Jizzes' is completely circular. So no, I don't think this is Jizzes. I believe what we have here is a mystery comer, who drank it while pretending to be another guy. No, Jizzes would not be back this year. Perhaps the personal issues he spoke of got to be too much. Maybe it was that now we're in the post-cum artifact world and this just wasn't as special anymore. And 2016 would come and go with no Jizmas, say for 2017. But then, on December 26th, 2018, 12/26/2345 EST, be there. This was a new picture, no Photoshop. After all these years, he had come back. But why? Hello, Anons. My name is of no concern. Many years ago, I posted images like the one you see as a little joke. It gathered some traction, so I posted similar images for the next few years. While the joke was initially funny, I think it's been going on for far too long now. What you have come to Jizzes is actually just some guy who brewed ginger beer at home and thought it looked like jizz.
You're a phony!
I figured it'd be obvious with the yeast sediment at the bottom, but very few people ever caught on. I no longer brew ginger beer, It was only a phase, so that's why I've not posted any images. So it was all fake. Some people caught on, but for the most part he had fooled people for a decade. And as evidence that this was ginger beer, he posted more batches of ginger beer that he had made. I know, granted, there's nothing he gives that's 100% proof that this is the same guy, but I mean, you look at those bottles, that is exactly what's going on here. In any case, later on in the thread, a person calling themselves Jizzeroni claims to be picking up the mantle. I'm here, starting a new bottle already. My first bottle was finished a few months ago. The sediments are legit and not yeast, although jizz does ferment. Really though, this just looks like more ginger beer. That all being said though, since the guy in 2015 was likely a different guy, maybe he really did drink cum. Also spotted in the archive thread. I'll see you all on Wang. Wang needs to talk about this on his YouTube channel. Is it any connection with the My Little Pony cum jar? It took me 5 years, but here we are. It almost feels fitting in a way that Jizzis, much like Santa, turned out not to be real. Of course, now that I've said that, don't show this video to any kids, because you know, the reason why you wouldn't want kids to see this video is so they don't find out Santa's fake. In September of 2012, a Redditor named Kraylon was hanging out at his cousin's neighbor's house. Kraylon had only known the neighbor, who he referred to by the pseudonym Rob, for about 2 weeks. When they're in Rob's room, Kraylon begins to notice a smell. In fact, the whole room kinda smelled like doo-doo. They're sitting around and Kraylon just can't take it anymore. He has to ask, "What's that smell?" Rob shamefully points over to a half-open drawer, where they discover it. The cum boxers. Goddamn, that buildup looks like congealed pizza cheese. Kraylon shares the picture to Reddit, and people are quick to ask, why are you touching it? So you gotta understand, it's not Kraylon touching it. It's Rob holding up his cum boxers like a trophy for all to see. All to be shared for that sweet Reddit karma. That right there is 7 years of hard work. And when asked why he didn't just use a paper towel or something like a normal person, he said he thought that was too much work. Honestly, to me that sounds like a lie. I mean, isn't it just as much work to go over to the drawer and get your designated cum boxers as it is to just, get a tissue or something? And then you're just sitting there in that stench all day. It's not like he's blind to it either, because he's clearly aware enough that when someone asks, what's that smell? He knows exactly what they're talking about. This definitely wasn't laziness. He enjoyed that shit. Nevertheless, he thought that Kraylon and his cousin were overreacting. But in any case, he was proud of all the attention his cum boxers were getting now. And that's the story of the cum boxers. Yeah, for today's episode of Tales from the Internet, we're gonna look past the cum jar, the cum box. We're gonna be taking a look at some of the lesser known cum artifacts. In Castlevania 2, Simon's Quest, you have to resurrect Dracula by going around the world and collecting his various body parts before putting them together. That's kind of what we're doing here today. We're just gonna take a look at various cum artifacts from around the internet. We're making Dracula out of cum. The song Zero by the Smashing Pumpkins begins with the line, "My reflection, dirty mirror, there's no connection to myself." When the owner of the National Wrestling Alliance, Billy Corgan, wrote these lyrics, he probably didn't consider the possibility of staring at yourself in the mirror while jerking off. An act which, if anything, has an uncomfortable level of connection to yourself. Enter a Redditor named White Licorice. White Licorice was a rapper who befriended another rapper in his local scene. Eventually, they would become roommates during college. It was a comfortable enough setup, although, not perfect. He's white. His dad is from Haiti, though. Maybe he's like an 8th black or something? Not sure. We tried to get him to stop saying the N-word, but he refuses. Relatively early in their arrangement, White Licorice would notice a stink in their home, leading him to find out that his roommate had been coming in a box. Which he immediately told him, you gotta cut that shit out. Now I know what you're thinking, and a Redditor named Semen Slayer had the same thought. Is it the Cumbox guy? I didn't know about the Cumbox guy. Based on the details of these stories, I think it was a different guy, and you'll find in this video that it's pretty common for people to enjoy the same artifacts. In any case, White Licorice thinks he's nipped the Cumbox problem in the bud, and the roommate comes to White Licorice and his other roommate with a big announcement. He eventually just told us one night, like, yo, I have this mirror in my room that I've been coming on all year. I think it was a big joke to him. And here's the mirror. Reminds me of when Kevin Malone spilled his chili everywhere. How'd he manage to hide this the whole time? You see, the mirror was placed on the back of the door to his room, which opened to the inside. So whenever they walked into his room, the mirror would be hidden just out of view. They're not quite sure why he did it. Licorice thought maybe it was just a joke, although as another user named Fiji Artesia noted. So for an entire year, he's jizzing on this mirror and thinking, man, this joke is gonna be hilarious when my roommates find it in a year. White Licorice would then use all the attention his post was getting to promote his song, I Hate Some Cops. So I got a couple of desk artifacts over here, one of which is kinda lost media. But let's start with the first. In a thread on Ask Reddit, bosses of Reddit, what's the craziest thing an employee has done while at work? Did you fire him/her? Shit just got shitty weighs in. An employee constantly masturbated in his cubicle under his desk. The reason I say constantly is because when he was actually caught by a female employee and reported, another boss went to look at his cubicle. What he found was absolutely appalling. So the boss thinks, you know what? I'm gonna go look for the cum. You know, normally you'd probably just assume this guy who's jerking off at work would clean up after himself, if anything, to just not get caught. But I guess the boss had a hunch, so he's wearing his nice business suit, gets down on his knees to look for cum, and sure enough, he confirms his suspicions. Under his desk, there was cum everywhere. The guy always shot his gentleman's relish right under his desk so it would hit the wood. He worked there for over 10 years. The dick spit was so thick after all the countless times of ejaculation, parts of it were black and growing mold. He covered the smell by always having some type of air freshener going. See, that's what all these other guys should have thought of. We should have taken the hint sooner. In the end, he was fired. Come desk number 2. Neraxella was splitting a dorm room in college. He posts to r/WTF. Found this in my roommate's drawer. Big, smiley, flat face with big eyes. He's not quite sure what it's supposed to be, but the consensus is, yeah, that's cum. And based on what I've seen in the course of doing this channel, I'm like 99% sure that's cum. But Neraxella isn't quite sure and adds a few details. I still have no idea what this is, but I will make a follow-up post. I really hope it isn't what you all think it is. I wasn't really in the room with him that much since I spent most of my time at my girlfriend's dorm, but all I know is that whenever I was there, he was playing LOL, yelling in Russian, and eating in Chinese. The update soon comes with more images of the whole room and the surrounding area. Curiously, he notes that there was no smell, which clearly is a point against it being cum, but maybe the guy just had a very clean diet or something. Although one person suggests it could have been chewing tobacco spit. Perhaps the most haunting suggestion was by Null Painter. Dude, I think I just figure out what's going on here, and I don't think OP is going to like it. Maybe someone else already has said this, but given the position of the stain, the spread and direction of the layers, and that he'd have a hell of a hard time sitting down and getting it to arc like that. Your roommate was standing up whenever he unloaded inside his desk, downward and inward into the drawer. His desk faces your bed. He may have been watching you sleep while he did this, apparently every night since he first moved in. Still, Neraxella was not convinced of what this actually was. And by now, the roommate was long gone. What do you guys think it is? I think it's cum. And now, cum desk the third. Redditor Crippled Kraut worked with an oil and gas engineer that in his opinion was getting paid way too much for what they were actually doing, which as he recalls was mostly just hanging out in his office with his wife. He noted that his office, which was a bit far away from everyone else's, did have a bit of a smell to it, but he chalked that up to the fact that he ate a lot of Indian food. Then one day, this guy gets fired. They're cleaning out his office, and this is what they find underneath his desk. A bunch of high-impact splatters there. It all looks kinda recent though, so either this was a new habit, or maybe this guy actually cleaned up after himself occasionally. And finally, cum desk the fourth, the lost cum desk. All that seems to remain of this one is a single post on r/Reddit's Museum of Filth. Guy comes on his work desk for years, which goes to a post on a now banned subreddit, Jackoff Confessions. Unfortunately, this thread isn't archived, so we can only piece things together from people's reactions in the Museum of Filth thread, with a few saying that this picture almost made them throw up. We also have a piece of how the original poster explained the smell, reposted by Google Earthlings. Believe it or not, I wasn't the only eccentric person in the office. It very well may have smelled had it not been for 3 factors. My boss, the owner, had no sense of smell as he lost it all after suffering a concussion. He also had a nasty habit of smoking in the office and relentlessly burning sage. And the office already smelled of mold because of a water leak from the floor above our office. The leak nearly killed the server I built, not to mention the dodgy electrical work. He also mentioned something to the effect of he jerked off at work because he didn't have a dad or something like that, but that's about all we know about the fourth desk. Rav Mysterin visits r/Make Me Suffer with a special treat. I have a feeling you guys are going to like this. This is the difference between a normal gray sock and my 5-year-old cum plus tonsil stone sock. And you can see the comparison here with the cum sock having a classic burnt pizza crust look. And I realize some of you may be unaware of what a tonsil stone is. Tonsil stones, more scientifically called tonsilloliths, are these lumps of waste that form in your tonsils when you're sick. Some people get them all the time, some people never get them, but they always smell absolutely vile. So just imagine all the other artifacts in this video and magnify the smell by 100. As he described it, it smelled like a corpse's asshole, and he has to wash his hands several times after using it. Unless, he just uses gloves, which he did some of the time. He never really explained why he was shooting tonsil stones into the same sock he nutted into, but he did explain the general concept. My idea was that if I ever got a girlfriend, I've realized at this point that I probably won't, I will give this thing a Viking funeral with the boat and everything. It's basically my virginity horcrux. Shirts are a pretty obvious one. I mean, they're always just kind of around. And sure enough, there's plenty of these. For example, you have this one user on 4chan who identified himself as Kara. He'd been using a pair of shirts as cum rags for the past 3 years until one day, he accidentally left them out and his mother found them. She demanded that he throw them out, which he did immediately, but then at night he took them back in to take some pictures. I had to wait until nightfall to take them out of the trash can since the neighbors don't like it when I take stuff out of the trash can. Apparently it's a thing he does with some regularity. Even though he was sad to see them go, he said it was also kind of a good thing since he had been thinking about trying a nofap. I guess he felt like he needed the shirts to get started. There's a few other of these that turn up from time to time, like this one attributed to someone named Hale KC that kinda looks like it's forming scabs. But probably the greatest cum shirt story comes from Finland. In February of 2015, a user of the Finnish image board Ilauta posted a shirt that he had allegedly used for 8 to 9 years for what he had estimated to be about 4,500 loads. Other posters had ideas for what he could do with it, like cutting a piece of the shirt off and making tea out of it. Ultimately, what he would wind up doing is scraping some of it off and snorting a line of it. I feel like I could convince esoteric health Twitter that scraping off your old dried cum, making it a powder and snorting it could give you some kind of alpha male powers. Of course, the Finnish poster didn't describe any of that effect. He just said it burned his nose and tasted like snot. And those are today's cum artifacts. There's definitely a lot more where that came from, so stay tuned for more of these. The very first episode of Tales from the Internet was about the infamous My Little Pony Cum Jar Guy. After releasing the episode, I was shocked when the creator of the jar contacted me. At first to show me the jar transfer video, which at the time was unlisted on his YouTube channel, which was mainly filled with watch reviews. Later on, after my channel hit 250,000 subscribers, he left me a note on my subreddit congratulating me on the milestone, and he also mentioned that he was working on a new project. Some time passed though when I heard little about this new project. It wasn't until this past May that he contacted me again, this time through email. He said that he wanted to do an interview. Of course I was on board to do this, but I asked him if he could provide some kind of verification to prove that he is who he says he is. He said he had to get some stuff together, and I didn't hear from him for a while. But after I spoke about his return in a clip on my second channel, he contacted me once again. This time with a photo containing 2 of the watches that were shown in his original photos, as well as the pen in the thank you note photo. And then later on I realized that the email he was contacting me from was the same email that was listed on his YouTube channel. So I'm confident in saying that this is the actual My Little Pony Cum Jar Guy. It's been a long time coming, but it's finally here. The first interview ever on my channel, a talk with the My Little Pony Cum Jar Guy. I'm here with the legendary My Little Pony Cum Jar Guy. How does it feel to be like a legendary online guy? Like, did you expect it would come from that project?
I mean, honestly, I had no idea that it was going to be this huge. So it's kind of a big deal for me. So yeah.
So I guess let's go back to the beginning first. So before you started this project, had you tested the waters with other things like that? Were like you doing like other cum tributes, or did you just dive in head first?
Well, no. I mean, honestly, I started the cum jar project when I was like 15 years old.
Oh shit.
So yeah. I mean, at that time I was a brony.
Okay, yeah.
I'd started getting into My Little Pony and watching it, and I had some friends also who were bronies, and of course I was that nerdy, that nerdy kid. And I came across this thread on /B on 4chan
Yeah.
about this guy who had filled these giant, like, 2 little bottles of cum.
Oh wait, was that I might have the timelines messed up. Was that the Jesus guy that had?
Yeah, the Jesus. Yeah.
Oh.
It unfortunately, it was later said that he was actually fake.
Yeah, it wound up being like ginger beer that he made himself.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, exactly. It was ginger beer. Yeah. But that's kind of what inspired me to do it.
Huh.
And I thought, well, what's a crazy thing that I can do that's going to freak people out? You know.
Okay, so you did it to get the reaction, not because necessarily. So were you like not really like? Was this a thing that like you weren't particularly like excited about? You just wanted the reaction.
Yeah. It was definitely because of that 15-minute fame.
Okay, so do you have an attraction to the ponies, or is this just like for the meme?
Well, I gotta be honest.
Yeah.
I have been jerking off to my little pony porn in my early days as a brony. I wouldn't call myself a furry.
Yeah.
But I have had an attraction, especially to Rainbow Dash.
A particularly Rainbow Dash. Yeah, I noticed you did have the 2 different Rainbow Dashes in that setup.
Yeah, exactly. But that's basically something that I've gotten out of my system. I'm not really into that anymore. But back then, it was something that I was attracted to. Yeah.
Okay. Do you like still like keep up? I don't know if there is like really much of a brony subculture anymore, but is it something you're still involved in?
Well, I mean, the only thing that I do have is that I sometimes visit the /MLP board on 4chan. But other than that, I mean, I wouldn't call myself a brony anymore. I mean, I haven't really kept up. I haven't really watched My Little Pony onto to where we've gotten with the series as of today. So it's not something that I've been keeping up with today. No.
So you began the project on April 1st, right? Was that
sounds right? Yeah.
Was it deliberately supposed to be like an April Fool's type thing, or did that just happen?
No, that was actually a happy coincidence that it was in April. So yeah.
So like because of that, did a lot of people think it was fake at first?
I mean, yeah, I have had a lot of response who said, "Oh, that's fake," and "Oh, you're that can't be real," and stuff like that. So I mean, I have been actually thinking about making some proof.
Yeah.
Like maybe filming myself like ejaculating.
Oh God. I mean, that's the thing too. Like even the vetting process for this, it's kind of a difficult thing to prove.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
Jizz has fooled so many people for so long.
Yeah, exactly. And that, Jizz has fooled so many people. Like he had a whole, like if not hundreds of thousands of people fooled about this project. So
for years.
Yeah, exactly. So I've actually wanted to like have this like solid proof that what I'm doing is real and what I'm doing is shocking to the world. And
yeah. Actually, funny thing too. So when it goes to like proving it, because it's kind of like a difficult thing to prove that you're the guy.
Yeah.
We actually, so when I hit 250,000 subscribers, you had posted on my subreddit the ponies and the watches. You'd use the watches to verify yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
Actually, did you change the watch band on the Omega?
Yes, the Omega that I'm wearing, at that time it had a Twixo Flex band.
Yes.
Which
that metallic one, right?
The metallic one, yeah. I changed that into a leather strap, which I have on right now.
Yes.
So, yeah.
And the rotary is the same one, though, right?
Yeah, the rotary is the same one, and I actually still have it here. I've got my watch case here. See, here's the rotary one.
Yeah. See, that one to me is like the absolute proof that you are the guy, because I looked in the pictures you had posted, and even like the little like creases in it match up with the original pictures.
Yeah.
So like,
exactly.
unless you're like a guy that was like, oh, I gotta match up the creases exactly.
Exactly.
It stands to reason that you are in fact the legitimate guy.
Yeah.
A couple times, actually. I remember around the time you had posted on my subreddit, you had also been back on MLP, talking about making a new project.
Yes, that's correct.
And actually, you in the more recent verification, you even had like a little vial. I'll put the picture up so people watching can see what I'm talking about. But so like, what is the plan for this new project that you've begun?
Well, I can give you a small preview of what I've got planning.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah, I'm just gonna.
You have something to show.
I have something to show, my friends, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes.
This is kind of where I've gone now.
Well, how long is this?
This is like half a month worth.
Half a month. Mikkel? Is that what it says?
Yeah, it says Mikkel. It's a Danish name. It was the only name they had in the store, and
okay.
So yeah. And my plans are.
Do you have like a figure or something planned for it, or
not yet? But I have had a poll on /MLP where they would vote for the pony that they wanted in the jar, and the poll ended with Twilight Sparkle.
Twilight Sparkle. I'm gonna have to look. Yeah. I don't know Twilight Sparkle. I'm gonna have to like look it up.
Yeah, that's the purple one.
Okay, Twilight Sparkle. Okay, yeah. I know. I recognize it now.
Yeah. So the plans are that I'm gonna get myself a new glass jar, and obviously I'm going to fill this up more than it already is, and I'm going to make a new project and hopefully continue the legacy of the Pony Com Jar project.
Hell yeah. So, like, I guess this, like, goes back to another question I was going to ask you. It seems like we kind of already know the answer, but, like, so, how long had it taken you to do the original about?
Oh, well, I mean, how long did it take me? I mean, about 3 or 4 years, I think.
3 or 4 years, yeah.
Like I said, I started when I was, like, 15 years old, and I mean, I guess I had I had a break because I got myself a girlfriend. Mm-hmm. And obviously with the girlfriend, I couldn't.
You're running out of supply.
Exactly, I was running out of supply. Yeah.
Hell yeah.
So I wasn't necessarily able to add to the jar as much as I was before.
Yeah.
So I did have a break from adding to the jar, but I did eventually, as we can see on the YouTube video that I posted, where I moved the pony into the newer jar, that I did complete it and I did bury it, and it is still in my parents' backyard.
Oh my God. Yeah, so this like raises up a lot of questions. I mean, the first one I was going to ask you is like, over the course of that 3 or 4 years, did it start to kind of like feel like a chore, and you're like, fuck, I don't want to come on this pony anymore?
Yeah.
Oh, you had those moments?
I did have those moments. Yeah, I felt like, oh, this is a chore, but there were so many people depending on me, and especially after the radiator incident.
Oh yeah, like that's when it really it went off 4chan and got everywhere.
Yeah, exactly. Like on Tumblr and Facebook, and everyone knew it. And I mean, I have this really, really funny incident where I was like at a party, and people would tell stuff about like gross stuff that they've seen online, and there was this one girl who told about the Pony Com Jar project, and I was sitting next to her, and I was just agreeing, oh yeah, oh my god, that's so gross, and oh my god, how can people do that? And she had no idea that it was me sitting next to her. That
rules. Are there a lot of people in your real life that are like aware of the project that you've seen?
Yeah, there are a few friends that I've told.
Oh, they like know you're the guy.
Yeah. There are a few friends close to me who knows that I'm the Pony Com Jar project guy. So about like 4 or 5 people knows in my friend zone.
What did they think of it?
Well, some of them was surprised. Some of them was not surprised. Some of them actually thought, "Oh yeah, that's so you." I mean, I should have known. Like,
are these people bronies, or are they just?
No, they're just regular friends. So
okay, yeah, that's pretty interesting. But at the same time, I guess like, you seem like the kind of guy that it's kind of like you just got a certain way where it's like they know what you're into and you just do what you're gonna do.
Exactly. I mean, I did it for the lulz, as they say.
Yeah.
So
well, that's like the true spirit of the internet.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I mean, they were into it and they thought, oh, that's fucking funny. So yeah.
You had mentioned that you didn't have access to the jars anymore. That's because like they're still buried, right?
Yeah. I live quite away from my parents because I recently moved out from my parents' place to start studying. So I am if I've been thinking to maybe go back to my parents' place and then bury up the jar and see what it looks like. And obviously, when I do, I'm going to make a thread on it about it on 4chan. So
do your parents know it's buried out there?
They don't know it's buried. No. So
what made you decide to like, make that the end game to bury them?
Well, basically, it all came down to not having anywhere to store it. Like I didn't have anywhere to place it, so I just thought, okay, I've spent so much time on this. I don't want to throw it away. I mean, I don't want to treat it like trash. I mean, this is my
like
my
4
baby.
years of work.
4 years of hard work and dedication, you know. So I thought, why not kind of immortalize it, you know, and bury it. That just seemed like a reasonable thing to do at that time.
Did anything interesting like grow around it? Like plants? Did anything like weird, like foliage-wise, like grow around it?
No, it's actually underneath some rocks.
Oh, okay.
Because in their garden we've got like these like flat rocks, and then I just moved like a big rock away from the grass, and then just dug a hole, and then put the big rock on top of the hole.
Gotcha. So they can't get out.
Exactly, it can't get out. Yeah.
So something else. It's kind of like you have an awareness of how big your legacy is from this. Yeah. Have you noticed that like since the project really blew up that there's been a lot of imitators?
Yeah. I mean, I've seen a few like. I mean, I've seen a lot like a Joe Biden cum jar.
Oh yeah, there's that's an ongoing project I saw.
Yeah,
He's been like on Twitter like posting every little update to it.
Yeah, I've seen that, and I mean there have been others like also using other ponies in their cum jar, and there's also been like piss jars, like the Mario piss jar.
Oh yeah, I saw like the Mario piss jar. Yeah. And there was an Epstein one. I don't think the Epstein guy ever finished it though. Like the Epstein one had a lot of momentum, and then I don't know if he if he gave up one. Or what.
Yeah, I don't know either, but
I don't think the Biden guy is gonna give up though. He's still going.
Yeah, it looks like he's gonna keep going. Yeah,
he's gonna go the distance.
Yeah. So I mean, it's nice to see that I've been an inspiration to the people out there.
Yeah, the original, the OG of coming in a jar on figures. So when you sent me the video. Where you transferred the jars, which, I mean, first off, what was that smell like? Because I could hear you, like, gasping for air when you did that.
Yeah, the smell was not... oh, God.
Can you compare it to something?
I mean, if I could compare it to something, it would be like rotten flesh.
Oh, really? Oof.
Yeah, so like just like biological matter, like just rotting.
Yeah, I imagine you weren't expecting that.
No. I mean, I've had to open it obviously to add more cum to it. But I think the worst time was with the radiator incident because it got heated, like it got reduced, it got like boiled, so it was like this concentrated stench. But in the video, it was still really terrible. It smelled horrible. Like as I mentioned in one of the threads, it smelled like a corpse that's been soaking in water for 300 years.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it is just kind of like because it's that biological matter. It just exactly. All the bacteria gets into it.
Yeah.
Going back to the radiator though, because that's interesting. Like knowing that like this all happened in your parents' house.
Yeah.
So like they weren't home when this happened.
No, they weren't. Thank fuck for that.
So it was like a whole process then of you like trying to like de-stench the house and shit.
Actually, not. No. Luckily, none of the cum had like gotten onto any surfaces.
Mm-hmm.
So as long as I just got the jar out of that little hiding spot and out of the radiator, it went kind of back to normal after a few minutes. So yeah. Yeah.
And another point I wanted to go into with the transfer video. So when you had sent me that, I had noticed that like you had like a whole channel like full of like clocks and watches. Like that was like your main thing. Like did you is that like a special focus you have? Like what's the deal with the watches?
Yeah, well, basically, I mean, since I was 14, I've been collecting watches, and I've been obsessed with watches and watchmaking in general. So it was more like this kind of twist on the video. Like it wasn't supposed to mean anything in particular, but it was more like something to give it like a surreal twist, like something to think about. Why is the clock there? I mean, is the time important? Like
it worked for sure.
Yeah. So it didn't mean anything special, but it was just there to give it like this boost, like this mysterious kind of twist to it.
Hell yeah. Is is that something like you like plan on working on though? Because you like mentioned that was a long time interest and whatnot.
Yeah, I mean, at the moment I'm studying virology at my local university. Yeah. Okay. I have been thinking when I was younger. I was thinking about becoming a watchmaker. But I mean, after I finished high school, it just I just wanted to like study on my university and like I'm also heavy into like microbiology, so it's like kind of a side hobby. The watches is like a side hobby I have right now.
That's cool. Well, I mean, good luck with that. I mean, clearly you have the dedication to make it through those studies. Yeah. All right, I mean, I guess the last thing I have here then is, do you have anything that you would like to promote or like anywhere you'd like to direct people?
Well, I mean, I've got my YouTube channel, of course.
Okay, yeah.
I mean, I haven't, of course, it's still called the PCJP guy. But I mean, I have my pony cum jar transfer video on that channel. I've been trying to like upload some regular content on it, but it's not something that I'm planning to do like full time. But it's still kind of funny. I mean, I like the response that I'm getting from making regular videos, because people will always remember that, hey, you're the guy that made the Pony Cum Jar project. Why are you making regular content all of a sudden?
I mean, that makes it so much funnier though, because like you have that legacy, but then you're just you're still going doing other stuff. Exactly.
That's
it's the kind of thing where it's like it can't be your only interest. You've got to like have like a bunch of other stuff to provide to the world.
Yeah. So I mean, I've done some reviews on like some watches, and I've done a review on a knife. So yeah, and people are commenting constantly that, hey, you can't be doing regular content. You're the Pony Cum Jar project guy. Why are you doing regular content? And I find that really hilarious. So
it's mad funny, but at the same time, that like if every video was like some kind of cum video, eventually they get bored of it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, you got to keep those keep the special things to be special every once in a while.
Yeah.
But I'll be sure to like link that too, so everyone knows to like go subscribe to you and see what you got for us.
That'd be awesome. I think I rounded up 1,000 subscribers a few weeks ago. So.
Hell yeah, we can get you way higher than 1,000 for sure. Everybody go sub to the Pony Cum Jar Guy right now. Like pause the video and go subscribe.
That'd be awesome.
I guess that's it for the interview. I never did an interview before. I was mad fucking nervous. Do an interview with you. Yeah, I could tell. Like we were both kind of like nervous going into this, but I mean, you seem like a cool guy who just like did a fucking thing that became like a weird legendary internet thing.
Yeah, well, I mean, what can you say? I mean, some people just go mad sometime.
Yeah. I mean, you seem 100% more normal than like a lot of people I've spoken to who like don't have this kind of legacy.
Yeah, I mean, I've had a lot of comments on my Ponocomjo video saying like, oh, this guy, he's probably like this basement dweller. He lives in his parents' basement and he's fat and he's neckbeard and he doesn't do anything. And then it turns out that I'm actually a kind of normal guy with friends and doing normal stuff. So yeah, which is again one of the reasons why I'm hiding my identity, is obviously because I have a social life. So
I think you showed me a mask you were gonna wear at first.
Yeah, that's right.
But this is a cool like look you got going on though. You kind of like look like a character from an assassin game or something. You look like right now you basically look like the Hitman. So next time somebody plays Hitman, know that that's the cum jar guy.
That's the cum jar guy.
All right, man. Well, I guess that's all for the interview.
Yeah, dude,
it was great having you. Thank you for following through. We've been talking about doing this for like a year or so, I guess.
Yeah,
so
we actually
finally came together.
Yes, it finally did, and I'm so happy with it. It's so great to like be able to reach out to one's followers and stuff like that.
Guys, thank you for watching the interview. Thanks for being here. Cum Jar Guy, subscribe to Cum Jar Guy, and I will see you all soon.
Thank you so much for watching, guys, and thank you for having me, Wang.
Beginning in 2001, the Perry Bible Fellowship is perhaps one of the greatest webcomics of all time, and it was sometime between 2004 and 2005 that they would publish what would likely be the most consequential comic in its nearly 25-year history, Weeaboo. It depicts a business meeting where the speaker says, if we waste any more time on Weeaboo, we'll be bankrupt by the end of the month. A guy at the meeting pipes up and says, did somebody just say Weeaboo? Then they all line up to paddle his ass over it. It's a similar joke from the Send in the Horror sketch from Kids in the Hall, poking fun at the frat-like environment at some workplaces by taking the dynamic to an extreme that's absurd in this context. What does Weeaboo mean? Doesn't matter. The comic works better because it means nothing. But there's just something about these kinds of made-up words, which apparently are called nonce words, that fan bases love to latch onto. I mean, you'll still hear Simpsons fans calling things cromulent.
Embiggens? I never heard that word before I moved to Springfield.
I don't know why. It's a perfectly cromulent word.
And Gazornenblatt is probably one of the only jokes that people still remember from Garfield and Friends. And it's safe to say that the word weeaboo has had a bigger impact than any of these other nonce words. So much so that a lot of the people who use it in 2025 have probably never even heard of the Perry Bible Fellowship. I know people have come to put all kinds of caveats to this. Every weeaboo I've ever met has a million excuses why they're actually not a weeaboo. But in general, it refers to a person who's not Japanese, but they're obsessed with Japan and Japanese things. The kind of person described by the word has been around for centuries. But it was becoming increasingly more common throughout the late 90s and early 2000s as Japanese pop culture began to build more of a presence in the West. And this was especially true online. That classic looking for a Japanese girlfriend shirt was everywhere. You got plenty of white dudes giving themselves fake Japanese names Kairo Seijiro style. And I distinctly remember reading this blog by this woman who swore that her body had been taken over by the soul of the deceased ex-Japan guitarist Hide, and now she's him reincarnated. At some point, I think she was even sending faxes to their drummer Yoshiki. Which, side note, I've wanted to cover that story for so long, and it just seems like every trace of it has been wiped from the internet. People would come up with all kinds of words to describe these people. Japanophile was probably the earliest one, and then in the 2000s, Wapanese became more common. Especially on 4chan, which itself was a hotbed of online Wapanese activity. And then in 2005, in an attempt to mitigate the overuse of the word and the hostility that came with it, 4chan mods added a filter that converted the word Wapanese into weeaboo. Of course, rather than putting an end to the Wapanese wars, this instead caused weeaboo to become the universally accepted word to describe this type of person. There's been quite a few people who've been the face of weeaboos on 4chan. People like Apple Milk 1988, or the Garugamesh Kid. Both stories for another time. Today I want to talk about one that I've been seeing pop up a lot again recently for some reason. Sometimes as the subject of ridicule, sometimes as an inspirational story, and almost always completely divorced from reality. This is the story of Ken-sama. One of the most common reliable post formats throughout 4chan's history is where you take a picture of a guy who seems to exemplify a type of guy. and then he'd write a post as if it was him writing it. One example that comes to mind is "Shit was so cash," which is written in the voice of a New Jersey Guido. His name is John, and he hates every single one of you. This kind of post is a great way to break down the characteristics of a type of guy, and at the same time, with 4chan being anonymous, you can kinda pretend that the guy really wrote it. You know, maybe shit really was so cash. Of course, one of the types of guys that found themselves the most under the microscope in early 4chan was the weeaboo. You could probably fill entire libraries just with 4chan posts about weeaboos in the 2000s. So of course you had posts in this format made as a weeaboo character. And the one that's really stood the test of time came in 2009. Accompanied by a picture of a tall, long-haired white guy with his hands folded wearing a kimono, the copy pasta reads, "Gomenesai, my name is Ken-sama. I'm a 27-year-old American otaku, American fan for you gaijins. I draw anime and manga on my tablet, and spend my days perfecting my art and playing superior Japanese games. Disgaea, Final Fantasy, Persona series. I train with my katana every day. This superior weapon can cut clean through steel because it is folded over 1,000 times, and is vastly superior to any other weapon on Earth. I earned my sword license 2 years ago, and I have been getting better every day. I speak Japanese fluently, both kanji and the Osaka dialect, and I write fluently as well. I know everything about Japanese history and their Bushido code, which I follow 100%. When I get my Japanese visa, I am moving to Tokyo to attend a prestigious high school to learn more about their magnificent culture. I hope I can become an animator for Studio Ghibli or a game designer. I own several kimonos, which I wear around town. I want to get used to wearing them before I move to Japan, so I can fit in easier. I bow to my elders and seniors and speak Japanese as often as I can, but rarely does anyone manage to respond. Wish me luck in Japan." This post so perfectly takes things that annoyed people about weeaboos in that time and just turns them up to 11. The insistence that everything Japanese is superior just because. Talking about Japanese things that everybody knows about, but acting like it's the most obscure thing ever. Pretending to be an expert on the culture while at the same time only having surface level knowledge and also getting a ton of things wrong. Like, if you were involved in any kind of subculture at this time that was in any way adjacent to this, you knew a few people that were exactly like the person that was being made fun of here. You knew people who thought they were gonna go to Japan and become J-pop idols. You knew people who thought they were going to go over there and take over the anime industry by storm. And then the picture of the guy that they chose for this post fits it so perfectly. Like, not only is he wearing a kimono, but he just generally looks like the kind of guy that would be like this. So this right here was the perfect 4chan weep character. So, and of course, like any good copy pasta, Ken-sama spawns a lot of parodies too. You get a bunch of guys who are similarly obsessed with different cultures. Most famously, Kenichi Smith or Rawhide Kobayashi, the Japanese Jap-American who loves barbecue, rodeo, and fireworks. But unlike a lot of other 4chan characters, Ken-sama wound up getting extended lore. On March 11th of 2011, Japan would be hit by the most powerful earthquake in its history. This was followed by a massive tsunami that came on so quickly that people in its range had no chance to escape to safety. The event would take the lives of nearly 20,000 people, with thousands more injured or missing. And in the days following the disaster, websites were put up to help people try to track their loved ones who may be missing. Among those said to be missing was Ken-sama. You even got a Google person finder entry. First name Ken, last name Sama. People were making tributes. There were multiple copy pastas made describing his last moments. And it seemed like the Ken-sama story had come to an abrupt end. But the stories of his demise were greatly exaggerated. In August of 2021, this post is made to R9K. I can't fucking believe that this is Ken-sama. Not only he slimmed down, he now has a QT Japanese GF. And there's a picture of a guy that's supposed to be Ken-sama, now slimmed down in Japan with a Japanese wife. And there'd be more pictures of him posted to the thread. The replies are a mixture of people believing this outright, others saying it's fake, and then you got a few people who are skeptical but they're hopeful that it's true. God, I hope this is actually him. It's nice when meme subjects end up doing well in the end. This new update to the Ken-sama saga would spread further, as posts on Fit would focus on his apparent weight loss, and how his life has seemingly improved because of it. This was reposted to a bunch of different boards, either as an inspirational thing or a what's your excuse incel kind of thing. And each time it was accompanied with debate over whether or not this was real. In one such post, also on R9K, one poster claims that the photos were originally found on the Japanese 2 channel, where Japanese users were saying it was in fact him. Now, this being 4chan, you get a mixture of people who are in on the joke and just playing along. You get some people who are convinced this is really true, and you get other people who are skeptical but open to the possibility. Where people get way more confused is when this breaks containment and makes its way onto Twitter. A lot of these people have never seen anything of Ken-sama ever. They just see what appears to be a progress picture of a man they've never seen before in their lives, and they're like, hell yeah, right on man, good job. Even ignoring the fact that these pictures would be over a decade apart and he somehow looks younger now, outside of a vague resemblance in their hair texture which isn't even the same color, these men just don't look alike. Which I guess on some level, if you're a weeaboo, that's gotta be like the ultimate flex. You know, if you're a white guy who wants to be Japanese, and then all of a sudden you got these other white people who are like, man, you guys look all the same, then I guess you won. And although it was abundantly clear from the outset that Ken-sama was not really the guy in the picture, and it was all a joke, now these before and after shots go viral every few months, and a whole bunch of people who've never seen this before are convinced it's real. In fact, the true identity of Ken-sama had been revealed years ago. So after the earthquake incident, a Twitter user named Ace Weaver made a tribute video to the deceased Ken-sama. The video would be taken down by a woman named Marisa Ebers, or Nerdnitz. When Ace Weaver asked her why she did this, she responded that this was actually a picture of her husband, who is in fact not dead and not named Ken-sama. The original Ken-sama photo can be traced to a post from her blog made on September 7th of 2005. In the previous entry, Marisa had spoken about how she was impressed with the work of this costume shop named Seems Like Magic. Her and her then boyfriend, now husband, Bryton, each bought a kimono from them. She mentions that she really wanted to show her readers how nice these kimonos were, so she was going to try to convince Bryton to help her take some photos of them that night. And convince him she did. He's such a good guy, to pose for pictures right before bed when his hair's all wonky. I can only imagine the conversations that these people have had over the whole Ken-sama ordeal. Can you imagine it's getting late one night, tired, your hair's all messed up, and your significant other is like, hey, before you go to bed, can you just take a picture of this kimono for my blog? I know you're tired and your hair is messy and whatnot, but only a few people are going to see it anyway. You reluctantly pose for a single picture, and now millions of people have seen you half asleep in a kimono. You become the face of weeaboos for 20 years. They're picturing you walking up the street in a kimono, bowing to strangers. They're writing whole fan fictions about your life, a fitness journey, a hero's death. And then just as the people who believe this come to learn that it's fake, a whole new crop of people come along every few months that believe it all over again. This has to come up anytime she tries to convince him to do anything. But anyway, that's the story of Ken-sama.
Although Western animation, despite its best efforts, has often struggled to shake its image as a medium for kids, Japan, as far as I can tell, hasn't had this problem. Mature adult themes and over-the-top violence are regularly explored in anime and manga, and this has been the case for time immemorial. That's why when a number of you contacted me about a notorious anime depicting girls trapped in a bathroom who wind up in a gut-wrenching scene and heroing themselves extremely brutally, I thought, yeah, that's probably something that exists. But the interesting thing about this anime isn't necessarily its contents, but the fact that nobody can seem to find it. So for this episode of Tales from the Internet, we're going searching for the lost anime, Saki Sanobashi, aka Go for a Punch. Over the summer, I received a number of emails from you requesting that I cover the story of a lost anime. Here's one of the emails sent to me by someone named Not Molly. Hi there. Sorry if it's inappropriate to send this to your story tips email. I mean, this is literally the thing the email is there for, so be my guest. Firstly, I love your videos. I really enjoy internet culture and unsolved mysteries. Your channel is perfect for that. Your hair is perfect too. Oh, come on. Anyway, I want to bring a topic into your consideration. The supposed lost media, Saki Sanobashi, or Go for a Punch. Your videos have helped bring internet mysteries back into the public eye, and I would really love for this to be solved. I first stumbled into this while browsing X. Supposedly, there's an OVA from the 90s about a bunch of high school girls being stuck in a bathroom with no exit, and then violently killing themselves. Not Molly also attached a number of links to help in the search, and as a fan of Guro and horror in general, I was really compelled by this particular story. And I've actually been trying to come up with an anime-related story for this channel, so I thought, let's do it. The search for this lost anime begins in February of 2015 on 4chan's paranormal board. A user made a post asking for the most fucked up thing you've ever seen on the deep web. And of course, a lot of the responses just mocked the OP. Nothing I can't find on the regular web. Posting about the deep web, eh? So when's your 13th birthday? Exciting getting older, isn't it? Others claim to have seen really crazy shit like, gore and torture videos and stuff like that. But then, there is the one response that would make this thread famous. Some weird anime about naked girls stuck in a large bathroom without doors, having a philosophical debate about never getting out of the room. After losing hope and starving for some days, everything goes downhill. They just start screaming and yelling. Then, they all commit suicide, either by smashing their heads on the floor or scratching their necks to bloody pieces. One girl helped the other to drown in the sink because she asked her to hold her, but she couldn't do it. I cried myself to sleep right after watching that vid because I just didn't even know anymore. A 4chan user getting that upset by a violent anime? I'm not convinced. Why would anyone draw that with such precision? It was goddamn horrifying. Looked 80-ish quality, audio too, Japanese dub, English subs, lasted for about 30 minutes. No credits, but it seemed ripped. Voices sounded very young, but Japanese sound young in their 50s. Haven't found or seen it again. The name of the vid was something along the lines of Go for a Punch or something. The search for this anime started up pretty quickly in the thread with a number of people asking for the source. Nobody knew what it was, but they knew that they had to see it, so they started questioning the poster. How did the girls look like, Anon? And when did you watch it? Some of us are really interested. Little, rather far apart eyes, almost like by Miyazaki. Most had bushy brown hair, and only one, the one that was drowned, had really brightly colored hime cut. I watched it in 2011 for sure. Ask me more details if you want. I remember everything, and not just because I have partially photographic memory, but because it was really intense for me at the time. Especially because of one particular scream one girl had. It had a really strange echo to it, and it almost made me dizzy. The closest reproduction of that sound I could find is from the Shining soundtrack Dies Irae. I changed the pitch so it's more like it. I swear if I'll hear the real thing again, I'll go berserk. Pick related the girl with the hime cut, but imagine her with almost white hair. He then added some more details about what happens in the anime. I hope you have better luck than me, but at the same time I hope you don't, because if you're anything like me, it will be pretty depressing. It has this abstract feeling to it that doesn't go away for a long time. It definitely wins the time record for character development. I felt really bad for all of them. There was 9 girls in the room. 8 of them looked really similar, but all their voices varied. There was not even instrumental music, just occasional ambience throughout the video. What was most unsettling about the suicide scene were the weird camera angles and no horror music as I'd expect. Just girls softly sobbing and gagging as they ripped their necks open with their fingers. They looked like an embodiment of lost hope. And the head smashing parts. I don't even want to go into details. Title of the video is probably not true to the original since this is deep web we're talking about, even less reliable source of information than shit posters on 4chan. But even if it was deleted, there should still be a way of restoring it since it was once posted on the internet. That depends on time though. OP also had some clues about the file and the site he found it on. And also, sorry if I misled anyone. I'm fucking stupid, how could I forget? There were probably Japanese symbols in the title, but I had Windows XP at the time, so I could only see them as little boxes. It was like this, -- go for a punch, -- DL / some code consisting of letters and numbers. I'm not sure if the exact amount of boxes is accurate, but I'm sure there was less boxes before the English text. By the way, the layout in the site I watched it in looks similar to today's Bing video previewer, pick related. And obviously, this is just an anonymous post on 4chan, so you should take it with a grain of salt, but other posters began formulating their own theories. Maybe it was an amateur anime from the 80s. Sometimes I think about music and how there is some really obscure stuff out there. My current obsession, Japanese avant folk music, it makes me wonder if there were obscure anime or shit like that. And after someone posted a thread in the anime section of 4chan, a potential name emerged. I got the name Saki Sanobashi on A. Ring any bells? Funnily enough, searching that on Google gives me no results, and the mods / janitors just deleted my thread. Is this your anime, Anon? OP didn't respond to this question, and it's very likely that the user simply pulled that name out of their ass. Regardless, that name, Saki Sanobashi, has become synonymous with this lost anime. Later on in June, another thread emerged where users tried to figure out what studio it might have come from. Do any of you guys know of studios or animators who have a similar theme in their work, i.e. ambient music, abstract feeling, dark themes like suicide, simplistic plain character design, character development, violence? If we can narrow down studios or people who make this sort of stuff, perhaps we can find it. Same guy here. Anyone watch Boogie Pop Phantom? It immediately came to mind for me. I never finished it, but it seems to fit every one of those themes except for ambient music. Not sure if the original OP ever described the voices in detail. The whole thing may be poorly dubbed with cheap voice actors. If they are, chances are that it is an amateur work from a small group of people in a basement or something. It might explain the 80s thing, since back then, quality was not exactly good. It can also explain the no instrumental music thing. He said the voices were very young, but each one was distinct, which made up for the generic character designs. This is a good point, but if it's an amateur anime or basement work, isn't it odd that some Westerners just happened to find and sub it? Unless there is, or were, some subbing group that somehow had access to obscure shows, subbed them and uploaded the more graphic ones to the deep web to avoid their shit getting taken down. Either that, some large company subbed it but it got axed for being too explicit and or depressing for Western audiences, or the animators / staff who worked on this amateur piece were fortunate enough to have someone who spoke fluent enough English to make comprehensible subs. Also, the fact that there are no credits makes it seem like it was either 1, cut by the subbers, or 2, part of a series, the rest of which is probably even more obscure and hard to find. Some 4chan users also liken this hypothetical anime to the work of Kazuo Umezu, as well as a manga named Shoujo Tsubaki, which was written in 1984 by one of my personal favorite artists, Suehiro Maruo, and adapted into an anime in 1992. It was also compared to a more recent work, Brain Damage, by another one of my favorites, Shintaro Kago. The search mostly died down, but it was reignited once again in 2018, this time with a Twitter thread by a user named Fabianski. Can one of you guys help me? I've been looking for specific manga, but I don't remember the name of it. It was about 3 high school students who get trapped in a room and talk about their lives and stuff. I remember that they all end up eventually killing themselves, with one of them helping one of the girls drown herself and the others bang her head on the concrete. I can't find any information about this, but I know it's real. Anyone? Okay, so it's banned in America, so I guess I'm going to have to look around. Okay, so 2 things. It might have another name called Saki Sanobashi, and maybe loosely based off another manga called Dragonhead. Dragonhead being a 90s manga that was adapted into a movie in 2003. But, according to sources, this had an 80s anime aesthetic to it, so maybe Dragonhead is loosely based off of it? Later that day, Fabianski would return to Twitter, and this time, he had a YouTube link. Fuck me, man. And if you click the link, this video has been removed for violating YouTube's terms of service. What did Fabianski find? Well, luckily, that same link can be found in another 4chan thread about this anime. Here's some lost media for you. Do not watch this video. It made me feel nauseous and vomit. This video is cursed. And apparently, this video turned out to be a guy writing Happy fucking Valentine's Day in blood. I mean, for this to have gotten removed from YouTube, he must have done it real epic style, but this was not the lead that we thought it was. But then, a Twitter user named Hachir Musan, whose name I definitely just mispronounced, responded asking for clarification. And note that this person is currently curating the largest thread investigating the story on Reddit, so I'll link their thread in the description. Sorry to bother you, but what was that video? This was a long time ago, but I think it was manga scans. No mention of the Happy fucking Valentine's thing, just manga scans? Perhaps he was thinking of something else. A Twitter user named Purple Snake began questioning Fabianski, leading to another potential lead. Did some digging and realized that this same link was posted on several X threads a while back, including a Saki Sanobashi thread I made. It was a video of a guy writing Happy fucking Valentine's Day with his blood. No manga scans. What the hell did I see then, lol? Here was the thread.
The link was posted only a few posts down. Now, you got me interested in this again. If it is true that you found manga scans, how did you find them? Because it definitely was not from that thread. Sorry about that. It's been a while since I looked back at this. I remember a while back on an X thread, someone may have posted manga scans, but they were poorly made. I do remember the vid actually now too. I think I got those two mixed up. Sorry. Maybe it could have been just a mock-up of what it could have been, but it was literally MS Paint tier shit. And then, Fabianski posted a link to another video, this time on Dailymotion. This one too is a dead link and it's not archived in any kind of way. And when asked about it, he said that he thinks it was a clip of a character getting ripped apart. And this, more or less, is where the trail ends for now. There's some investigation, particularly in the thread that I mentioned before, investigating leads such as perhaps there was an obscure work by Suehiro Maruo, and some people are investigating the names Go For a Punch and Saki Sanobashi. But as a number of people have pointed out, the name Saki Sanobashi is just a name that one person on 4chan came up with, and in 5 years has never been corroborated. If this thing really is out there, I think it would be prudent to focus primarily on just finding that story of the girls trapped in the bathroom. And that being said, the creator of the Reddit thread did add an aside that may be helpful in finding this video. Honestly, I seriously remember watching an anime scene like that on YouTube not too long ago, but I remember it being taken down. But the girls weren't naked. I distinctly remember they were wearing brown and cream colored type sailor uniforms, with symbols like school badges or something in the shape of eagles. I remember the scene being so unnerving to me that I couldn't finish it at all, but all I remembered one girl holding the other girl while they flung themselves on the ground and one bashing her head into the bathroom wall. I swear this existed. And now obviously, this is a thing that started on 4chan. It could very easily be pure bullshit. But while it's rare, it's not entirely unheard of for this kind of thing that sounds like a bullshit creepypasta to turn out to actually be a real thing. Consider the case of The Clockman. The Clockman was a creepy animated short film that someone online swore they saw on Nickelodeon but they just couldn't find. Even Viacom employees who might have known about what aired on Nickelodeon called this guy a liar, but sure enough, after 5 years of searching online, people found the Clockman. I've come to realize that when I make a video on an ongoing internet mystery, it can be a bit of a double-edged sword. On one hand, it brings a lot of new hands on deck, a lot of enthusiastic people who are capable of digging up new leads. And sometimes it even brings mainstream media attention. On the flip side though, my involvement admittedly also sometimes hurts the signal-to-noise ratio. You have no idea how many people email me claiming that the most mysterious song on the internet sounds like their dad's old band and they really think he's the one who made it. But when I covered the story of Saki Sanobashi, the lost anime, I had no idea how much chaos this would cause. And if you have no idea what I'm talking about, you should take a look at that video, but if you don't feel like it, here's a summary. In a thread about deep web discoveries, a 4chan user claims to have found a very gruesome 80s style anime that they haven't been able to find since. The file name for it included the words "Go For a Punch," and it involves schoolgirls trapped in a bathroom who eventually committed suicide in extremely graphic ways. The person who posted about it remembered being extremely disturbed by it, and a few other people on the internet seem to have remembered the same thing. But nobody can seem to find it, and that brings us to now. Before I get into it, I want to shout out the sponsor of this video, Skillshare. Skillshare is an online learning community for creators with over 25,000 classes in design, business, and more. I've been working on this Adobe After Effects class by Jordy Vanderput. Learn Adobe After Effects CC 2019 for beginners. Premium membership can give you unlimited access, so you can join all the classes you want and join over 7 million like-minded creators. You can join communities where you provide each other with support and feedback and keep yourself on track. And Skillshare has courses that fit your needs, whether you're learning for your career or simply for your own personal enjoyment. Right now, Skillshare is giving away a free 2-month unlimited access trial to my subscribers who click the link in the description, and after that it's only about $10 a month. After I made my video on the lost anime Saki Sanobashi, it seemed like the search for it quickly geared back up. The Twitter users that I mentioned in my previous video seemed to be getting together to get ready to start searching again. The boys are back in town. It's time. It's time for round 2. The subreddit r/Saki Sanobashi has grown to over 1,000 users and now has frequent updates on the search. And there was a Discord established, and that's where I first heard of shit going awry. Just joined the Saki Discord, and the voice chat is named The Bathroom, and over 100 plus people are arguing with each other. What have you done? Honestly, I'm not a big fan of Discord. I know I have one, but I very rarely use it, but to me that sounds kinda badass, and honestly really fitting considering the subject matter. But I could see how that could be annoying if you're trying to find something. I would hear little peeps about problems in the Discord from time to time, but this would become a much bigger issue later on, but we'll get to that. For now, back to the search for Saki. Shortly after the release of my video, several people hit me up with this image claiming that someone found a screenshot of it. Now, to me, it immediately seemed fake. I mean, if we're saying it was an 80s style anime, why am I looking at a picture of CG? Not to mention that none of the details seem to match, not the hair or the uniforms or anything really. And although this screenshot at first seemed to fool a lot of people, it's been mostly dismissed as fake at this point. Another lead would show up on Reddit from a now deleted user who claimed to have also seen it. I saw this anime on a Surface site, not Deep Web, a long time ago, 2007, 2008. I don't know the name because the version I saw had no subs, only had some kanji. I think it was kanji, so I can't confirm if the go for a punch title is real. I saw Wang's video this morning and the description brought me some nasty nostalgic moments to mind. My memory did its best to forget this shit. I love creepy anime like Midori the Flower Girl, and a long time ago I found a Surface site only about creepy anime. The name of the site was something like animebestgore.com. Take this domain name with a grain of salt, it was a long time ago. The site had a lot of creepy and full of gore anime, Midori, Genocyber, Devilman, and others. This happened during my summer vacation, July maybe. I found that site and for 2 days I watched as many OVAs as I could. That is when I saw a thumbnail with the anime girl's head on the ground. She had her brain showing. On to the right there is a Japanese name, I can't read kanji. I clicked on the picture and the anime began. It was in fact from the 80s or 90s. The quality was actually not bad though. The OVA begins with a black screen. I could hear something like Buddhist mantras mixed with the drum. This would play while a Japanese big red tittle slowly appeared on the screen. After the tittle appeared, the mantra stopped and I could only drops of water falling on the ground. The bathroom scene begins and it goes just like the 2015 post described. My version was complete, I think. It had credits in the end. In the end, during the credits, a sad Japanese rock-like music sang by a woman would play on the background. After the credits ended, the scene would change. You can now see a new girl with short red hair walking up in the same bathroom. After that, the camera zooms on her face as she screams. The OVA then ends. It was a strange anime. I felt uncomfortable when it was over. I'll be posting this on other related topics. Feel free to ask about details. I want to help with the hunt and maybe watch it again. People were excited about this lead and the user started to answer a number of questions. He answered questions about the uniforms, which he claimed they starred and then eventually got naked for reasons he doesn't remember. People would show him songs and ask if this was the music he was thinking of. He answered questions about the website that he found it on, which he said closed in 2011, according to something he was told by his friend Pedro. A number of people began to point out inconsistencies in his stories, such as how he seemed to edit the color of the girl's hair a few times. Finally, after people kept on pressing him, he admitted this in the Discord. Didn't we have fun? I thought you guys knew. This was supposed to be an RP thing. You can kick me, that's okay, but we did have fun. And kick him they did. And then he deleted his Reddit account, which apparently was 13 years old. I guess he was really interested in avoiding that hate mob that was coming his way. Shortly after, I received another email, this time with a screenshot from 4chan. I saw this in 2012 on Surface Web. It was one of those sites with a generic name like watchanimeonline.something, not net, com, gov, org. Probably full of malware, definitely dead, almost definitely not archived. I was using Windows 7 but don't remember the characters. I don't speak moon runes. I definitely don't remember any cannibalism. I'm pretty sure that's made up. I don't remember any chanting, but do remember red text and drums. I remember there being one central everyman girl who didn't have much of a backstory, just wanted to go home to her parents and her kid brother. Hime cut girl, I think her name was Satsuki or something Suki, is shorter than everyone else, has kind of an ill girl vibe. She clings to the main girl, Saki, and comes to rely on her. Main girl, herein referred to as Saki, tries to keep the peace among the others. Some of the other girls are reasonable, a couple just seem to start fights all the time. There's definitely no gore until they start dying, but some weird shots, maybe dream sequences, the bitchy girls sometimes start fights, escalate to punches/kicks, some bruising and light blood. I think two of the girls have a very Yuri vibe going on. One wants to be a bride/have a family. They might kiss/do some ero stuff. I don't think they had sex though. Remember one of them holding the other after she died for like a long time. I think one of them had shoulder-length blackish hair, and the other had really short brown hair, kinda cut like Sailor Uranus. They did have school uniforms on though. I don't think they were sailor style, just kinda standard skirt and blazer with a big red bow. Main girl, Saki, helps drown Hime cut Satsuki in the sink by holding her head under while she spasms. Saki bashes her own head into the sink/wall. They were subs, but they were shit. Generic yellow font and used a lot of awkward wording. Probably half machine translated, or done by someone who didn't care that much. Not great animation. According to the person who sent me this email, there were a few people who read this post and were like, yeah, that sounds like the thing I saw, but there's one problem. He was actually the guy who wrote the post, and he made the whole thing up to prove that anybody can just say anything and people will be like, yeah, that sounds right. He gave me some specific names on Reddit actually, but he also told me not to say them because he didn't want to start a witch hunt. Then there were some people who specifically wanted to look into the Guro angle. It got to a point where people were basically finding any Guro with a bathroom in it and saying, hey guys, I think I found Saki. A few people wanted to look into Guro-chan, an image board focused primarily on, you guessed it, Guro. But as this one 4chan user pointed out, Guro-chan, or for that matter the entire online Guro community, just isn't what it used to be, and the genre in general has been very damaged by censorship. Even if this anime did exist at some point, there's a very high probability that it's just lost now. Back in 2008, 2007, bro, that was back when the original Guro-chan was running in full swing. This site in its current state is just a shell and a minor glimpse of what it was back in those days. In earlier of those years, the Guro community was much bigger back then in general. There were dedicated forums to Guro, Freak Show, Scat to share doujins, manga, and OVAs. And there lay the problem. If one of those forum sites shuts down, it pretty much took all the stuff on there with it. Unfortunately, a lot of media is lost since those days, and I'm talking about a lot. Whole manga series were scanned, some translated and never really backed up. They are kept on crappy file hosts that all went dead within years. There are series that still, to this day, I can't find on the web anymore. And at that time, they were posted back in those years, they were already out of print media. Unless someone with a copy of such old stuff is still into the whole obscure community and realizes people are looking for it, then gone and forgotten it will remain. This was way before places like GE or EX Hentai existed that served as a sort of archive to a lot of H material. Although there was once a bug on GE/EX Hentai temporarily where you could surf the private tag, so you could see other people's personal galleries that weren't shared publicly, and I found tons of titles I thought were missing, as well as stuff I haven't even seen. Then the admins fixed the bug and that stuff was gone again. Seems a lot of those stuff that was privated was general due to poor reception Guro and similar stuff gets these days. I posted some old manga with Guro/Freak Show that was not posted before and was very quickly flooded with tags by some of the community that causes it not to be visible publicly anymore. Unfortunately, this due to special snowflakes these days that have the mentality they need to suppress things like that because they don't like it. Point is that it's not just media that wasn't properly backed. It's also tons of individuals that are suppressing Guro genres, so chances are very slim in finding more obscure media in this genre. But I digress. The anime being described does sound familiar somehow, but everything about the original post seems like a classic 4chaner making up incoherent deep web stories to fit in with the discussion. In 2015 and before, back in those days, you did not need to go to the deep web to see anime guro content. That's already a red flag. He cried himself to sleep? He is surfing the deep web and watching anime guro and he cried himself to sleep? The person is lying to just have a cool deep web story. Don't get me wrong, if anything that certainly sounds exactly like the type of weird shit that came out in 80s from Japan, but too many red flags in that post to ever merit any credibility. The Reddit post backing up that claim does sound interesting, but in general, Redditors are out for karma whoring, so any non-evidence-backed claims from that site should be highly skeptical. And this poster is absolutely right. There are a lot of red flags with this story, and because of the perception of guro as a genre, it's very likely that a lot of guro, like the potential Saki Sanobashi, is simply gone because of factors of this anon posted. But as a number of people noted, it's possible that this work as a whole wasn't in the guro genre. It could be that it's just that this particular scene was violent and got a lot of attention. It could be a smaller part of a bigger work, just like the Clockman scene was in Clockman. Anyway, now back to the Discord drama. A few days passed and I started to see people complaining about being banned from the Discord, with a few splinter Discords being created in its wake. As someone who, as I said, doesn't really use Discord, it was a little hard to follow this, but thankfully, most of the drama was outlined by a Redditor named Simlander88, the downfall of a Discord server. So, apparently, a Discord server is banning people left and right. A server called Saki, the Lost Anime, was called. I joined the server a few days ago and was actively helping out the cause to search this supposed lost anime, but after people lying and trolling, the server just went into a dumpster fire. The owner, who went by Eclipse Main, was the owner of the said server. My issue with his actions is not handling the mess that was going on for the past few days. He has been outed, but his own staff admins and mods and the community itself. Various reasons for the dumpster fire. An admin left due to not handling the shitposting, another admin locked the general channel after a user was exposed for lying about his supposed anime he'd seen, leaving the entire hundreds of users to go apeshit. Promote another admin and went power hungry, started banning people over words. Another admin promotes a user to mod status, thus leaving the mod banning 50 users for no reason other than lulz. Some users came forward about witnessing this lost anime. Some, however, proceed to troll and allow the user in the server to flip their shit again. Now, when the owner deleted a role, the whole server went into madness, thus another admin leaving due to the mess the owner caused. When being confronted about why the owner deleted or lack of activity with the server, claims for clout, and if this anime is discovered, he wants his name out there. Fights with his own staff, banning every staff there even if online or offline, part or not even being part of his irresponsible actions. Claiming the server got raided, yet all the people who were searching for this anime and pulled their efforts/commitments got hit with the ban as well. Honestly, it was a blast to meet the people at that server. Good luck with all the findings. Sorry, writing English is not my big language. And it seemed like this was it. The whole search was falling apart with lies, drama, and bad leads killing people's enthusiasm. In fact, this was originally where I was going to end this video, but as I was working on it, something else came up. Namely, this image. This image was discovered by a user named FNeo. FNeo has compiled a document containing leads on the Saki Sanobashi case. The document begins by analyzing the Google Trends data for the term "go for a punch." This data yields results as far back as December of 2004, more than 10 years before the 4chan post. And a particular interest in this search was found among Spanish-speaking and Portuguese-speaking countries. This led to the discovery of an article on the Spanish fansub community at the time, who has now been emailed by FNeo. As of the time of me recording this video, they have not yet responded to him. And then it was on November 30th that the image of the girl was found. A 4chan post was discovered by a user claiming to have seen an anime similar in fashion. The post reads, "This shit is really lost. I remember watching it on a LAN party during uni here in Macedonia. It had no sub, the nerds who were learning Jap translated for the whole room. It was called something like characters that I can't read. Additional information was provided by the user. 9 girls, I believe it was in the name I forgot all Jap I have ever learned, locked in the underground facility. They all had background story. One was daughter of some politician, the one with red hair was daughter of some Yakuza boss. There was some organization that locked them there and streamed the whole thing because they wanted a ransom. There was 100% head smashing scene, where the Yakuza girls smashed head of the blonde one, which was daughter of some loan shark, and there already was bad blood between them. She did it because they got food in exchange for it. This was back in 2011 or 2012. It was pretty well made, had chaos head vibes. The term, Japanese letters, translates to 9 kakudo, or 9 angles. Alternative translations, 9 occurrences, 9 degrees, or 9 corners. Using PD, the supposed name was split up into a tag-friendly format to allow for memory error of the original poster. The terms 9, 9, and 9 were used. The latter one produced more than 900 immediate and more than 1700 results after 2 minutes and was therefore dismissed. Angle, kakudo, and occurrence were used as tags and returned positive results, acquiring more than 21 files. One of them, labeled Japanese characters.gzip, contained the following images. Haha disgusting.bmp. This loosely translates to what is your dream, or what are your dreams for the future? And then we have the girl. This girl dies, nomad.bmp. The young woman passes away, nomad.bmp. Searching for Nomad returned results of a fan subbing group that is locked outside access to its website at the time of writing this. A connection to a Japanese animation studio was also made. No solid disprovals of their connection to the screenshot have yet been made. As of the time of me making this video, there have been a few suggestions as to where this girl may have come from, but nothing's been confirmed or denied.
You know how I said that this video might very quickly become outdated? Well, as I was editing it, a Redditor named Fortesk22 found the girl. That does not look like a Guro, does it? I guess that puts that lead to bed. And that's where we're at with this right now. Hopefully all of the community drama is behind us, and the next time I have a Saki update for you, it'll be something more final. It's been close to a year since I last covered Go for a Punch, aka Saki Sanobashi, aka the lost deep web anime. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, you should probably watch my other 2 videos on it first, but if you don't feel like it, here's a summary. Many years ago, a 4chan user claimed to have seen a horror anime on the deep web which involved 9 girls trapped in a bathroom. After going through an existential crisis together, they proceed to Alt F4 themselves in a variety of ways. Bashing their head against the sink, drowning in the sink, etc. Although this could very well have just been that poster making all of this up, other people seem to have a vague memory of seeing this as well. And people have been searching for it ever since. There's a lot more to it, but this should more or less get you up to speed. So for the most part, this search seemed to have gotten the wind blown out of its sails back in December of 2019. That was when a post was made on the r/Saki Sanobashi subreddit by a user called Saki Sanobashi OP. I am the OP of Saki Sanobashi. It's fake, and I'm sorry. This post was removed very quickly for unknown reasons, but it was reposted the next day and this version remained. In the post, he claims that he made up the story originally just because he thought, the person on 4chan asking for real deep web stories was kind of a dumbass. And he came up with the English title Go for a Punch because that sort of awkward naming in Japanese titles was common. My only purpose was to troll the OP of the original thread since he seemed pretty gullible, seeing as he was asking people about the scariest thing that they've seen on the deep web and expected a serious answer from 4chan. I had completely forgotten about all this until recently, when Wang, who I watch religiously, uploaded a video about it. I was really shocked when I realized that he was talking about me, since I didn't think that anyone would actually believe my obvious BS. It was also pretty surreal that not only had my favorite YouTuber made a video about a stupid troll post that I made, but that so many people had dedicated time and effort into looking for it. He said that he hung around the community that emerged around the search, having a sensible chuckle at all the people that were so invested in finding something that he had made up. But as he saw people get more and more dedicated and putting so much time into it, he started to feel bad, so he felt that he had to put an end to it. He apologized for letting people search so long, and he began to field some questions for people who were obviously suspicious of who he was. On the suggestion of John Wankmeyer, whose name I can't help but point out is a
allusion to the fantastic director Jan Schwankmeyer, he posted the original image of the book from the thread, timestamped in his camera roll. On the suggestion of Sister to Sleep, he shared the original Bing player screenshot, the one he used as an example of how the player looked, with its EXIF data. And on Donkey Kong is My Guy 46's request, he shared the scream from the soundtrack of The Shining, which had been lost from the original thread. People pointed out that it seemed odd that he would still have these things, but frankly, I kinda still have stuff on my phone from back then too. I still have stuff saved from like 4 phones ago, and I only really delete stuff if I run out of space, and I'm sure a lot of other people are like that. As others pointed out, this evidence, if true, would mean that the whole thing was bullshit. But also, this evidence could easily be fake. And Saki Sanobashi OP wasn't the first person to claim to be the OP, he was just the first one that had any kind of receipts. And this post wound up being a big fracture point among the community that sprung up around the search. A community that from very early on, even before all of this, was already fraught with infighting. So now you had those who believed that Saki Sanobashi OP was the real OP, and those who thought he was a liar. But either way, it seemed like for that time, most of the focus of the Saki Sanobashi subreddit shifted from actual investigation to shitposting, fan art, and more or less just having fun with the idea of Saki than actually looking for her. It wasn't until June 26th, 6 months after Saki Sanobashi OP's post, that a user named Stelios Rotas attempted to debunk it. His post, entitled "We have finally debunked Saki Sanobashi OP," brings up several arguments and is absolutely massive, so I'm just going to boil it down to its key points. Some of these include the fact that the original 4chan post says that the audio from The Shining was pitched up to make the scream more accurate to how it was in the anime. But the Volcaroo post that he shared was identical to the unpitched version that was found on YouTube, as confirmed by Spectrogram if you don't trust your ears. Furthermore, as it turned out, this version of the song wasn't from the actual Shining soundtrack, but from a Brazilian cover of the song, one that wasn't as easily available when the post was made. Another was that the phone screenshots were from iOS, yet in the Discord he used Android. There's also inconsistencies in the file sizes between the original 4chan images and the ones he shared on Reddit, and either way, those things would be pretty easy to fake. He also asserts that Saki Sanobashi OP has a strangely good memory at some times, but a suddenly bad memory when it's convenient. And he goes on to accuse him of creating an alt to spy on the Discord and stay ahead of questions. This debunking was very well received at the time and kind of helped breathe new life into the search. I even recall an uptick in people asking me about an update around the time, although back then I didn't really think much of it. But all that being said, despite some of this evidence that Saki Sanobashi OP was a fraud might seem damning on its face, every single thing that's brought up does have a potential rational explanation. Inconsistencies created by varying file compression algorithms, misremembering where he got the song, and potentially just fucking up the pitch shifting when he thought he did it right back in the day. There's also the potential for miscommunication and the fact that memory tends to actually be pretty touch and go. Some things you remember good and some things you don't. So we've got some circumstantial evidence here, but not really any kind of smoking gun. And Saki Sanobashi would return with a massive rebuttal to this post, saying as much. A rebuttal that would receive another lengthy rebuttal from Stelios Rotas. And that rebuttal would receive another rebuttal from Saki Sanobashi OP. And although I could go to each of these posts and break them down point by point, I really don't want to bore you with those details. In my opinion, there's no irrefutable proof on either side of this debate. Whether or not you believe Saki Sanobashi OP was telling the truth or not seems to have basically boiled down to whether or not you want to believe Saki is real. And for the most part, it seemed like r/Saki Sanobashi had become the domain of the non-believers. Thus, r/Saki Sanobashitsu was created by Starman Deluxe for the people who wanted to continue the search in earnest. And since this subreddit was founded, there have been a few leads that a substantial amount of time has been spent on. It begins in August with a post by a now deleted user, D393268. In the thread, he speaks of an obscure Japanese film called Lady in the Sea of Blood. Lady in the Sea of Blood is a very obscure, extremely low-budget Japanese film from the 80s in which a woman brushing her teeth begins to bleed from her mouth. She becomes more and more amused as the blood becomes unstoppable, leading her to eventually just roll around on the bathroom floor naked in her own blood. Although people knew of the existence of this film, it wasn't until 2019 that a distributor of obscure horror and exploitation films known as Twisted Anger got a hold of one of the 3 copies known to exist and began selling a DVD of it. And in fact, this film is actually the second of a 5-part series, 3 of which have yet to actually be found. Obviously, this film is not Saki, but it was presented as proof that such obscure Japanese productions from the 80s did exist, and sometimes they had long, fruitless searches before they were actually found. Although granted, in this case, there was concrete proof that these films existed as opposed to Saki, which we don't know. And although this post wasn't specifically evidence for Saki, people became interested in the distributor Twisted Anger. As a company that deals specifically with this kind of obscure media, perhaps they might have some insight into Saki. This prompted user Chris Abel to contact Twisted Anger directly. After speaking with a representative of the company, they agreed to help with the search and hopped in the Discord server. It was there that they mentioned that there was a rumored lost anime connected to the Sea of Blood series, entitled Blood Punch of the Lady. And here's where, honestly, it starts getting very far-fetched for me and a lot of other people. The Twisted Anger representative allegedly had some kind of special software that would help them dig up links. Links that normal search engines wouldn't typically be able to find. And looking for the description of Saki, they come up with 4 links. The first, going to a link on the site called best183video.info, yields a message that says content deleted, and it's not archived. But with the software, Twisted Anger was able to see that it said 9 girls stuck in a bathroom while their parents tried to find them. The second goes to a live link video that is inactive and once again wasn't archived. But according to this software, it had said, a bizarre anime where 9 girls commit suicide for 5 days. The third link is actually pretty interesting. It goes to an interactive game on X-Fiction called Transylvania, which doesn't have anything to do with Saki, but it's peculiar that something this obscure turned up. According to the software, this was because the game contained text with the number 9 and the word locked, something that was proven to be true. But it's the fourth link that was perhaps the most consequential for this investigation. A .onion dark website beginning with the word Dark Anime Inc. and a scrambled series of letters /anime/go for a punch. This link, of course, did not work. And while I personally have no idea how Tor addresses actually work, everyone who seems to have some experiences said that there's no way that this link was ever valid. Apparently, it doesn't have the correct number of characters, and also it should only contain numbers between 2 and 7. But somehow, despite all this, Twisted Anger managed to pull up an index file from this not working site. An index file that was supposedly from 2013, a few years before the 4chan post. After it was received, the index file was uploaded to sakivideos.tk so people could see it. As of the time of me making this video, the site is down, but before it went down, I managed to get a screenshot. Go for a punch. 9 girls suddenly wake up just to see that they are in an unknown place, which looks like a bathroom? Genre, Goro, date created 1986. And in the middle was an embedded streamable video that did not work. For a lot of people, this was it. This was definitive proof that this thing existed. That is, if you believe that someone somehow used proprietary software to grab an index from a dead deep web link that never could have possibly worked. And furthermore, something I'm surprised I didn't really see anybody point out yet. So this page was supposedly created in 2013, right? And it contained a streamable link that the anime was on, right? Here's the thing. Streamable as we know it did not exist until late 2014. There was a company named Streamable that owned that website in 2013, but they were an advertising system for online content founded in 2007, not dissimilar to what Google's ad network provides. In other words, definitely not the kind of site that would have videos to obscure girl films. And a while after sharing these links, the Twisted Anger Discord account was hacked and subsequently banned from the server. I suspect that somebody is trolling here. And a lot of accusations have been thrown around, but I'm not comfortable enough with any of the evidence here
to say that someone specific did something in particular, and I've tried contacting Twisted Anger myself, but as of now they've yet to respond. Regardless, some people did go further investigating this lead, looking into surface websites like Dark Anime and Dark Anime Inc. that did exist in the early 2000s. Monkey K1 goes more in depth about these in the pin posts on the subreddit regarding the search. To me though, the most interesting revelation was the rumor about an anime connected to the Lady in the Sea of Blood series. Although this was first mentioned by that suspect Twisted Anger account, it was actually echoed by other people not originally connected to the search. The YouTuber Brutality Will Rule 666, who specializes in obscure gore films and was found by the community due to his review of Lady in the Sea of Blood, mentioned that he had heard rumors of an anime connected to the Sea of Blood series. And when he was asked about the title Blood Punch of the Lady, he was certain that this was the title that he had heard. In a thread made by bad username 25 about Brutality Will Rule's video, a fan of the Sea of Blood series named Political Incorrect mentions that the original company that distributed the films was named Filmcore, and they would sometimes publish rare underground anime and hentai. One example he provided was the Mouse Pet special, which I can't show you, but it features a cover with Sailor Moon sucking a cock. Political Incorrect mentioned that he had also heard the rumors of the Sea of Blood anime. And although the Filmcore catalog would be a good place to look, that company is long gone. Regardless, some people did look into the Filmcore lead, and this led a Discord user named Maximov to speak to an obscure media channel called Innocentia's VHS. The owner of Innocentia's VHS said that Filmcore was known actually to just sell bootlegs of other people's stuff. They would redistribute other companies' hentai and sell compilations of fan-made hentai. Therefore, a better lead would be to simply look to the original creators of the hentai. And that being said, another user named Raised by Songs spoke to another distributor of obscure media called A Baroque House. In the short interview, they say that while it's possible that such an anime exists, it's very unlikely that it's connected to the Sea of Blood series. That's because the Sea of Blood series was almost certainly made just to make a quick buck and nothing more. It was also discovered that if Go for a Punch did ever exist, there's a chance that it was destroyed by Konami. I can't believe I'm surprised that this might all somehow lead back to Konami being Konami, even decades before Silent Hills. So in Japan, Konami has a series called Tokimeki Memorial, absolutely massive series that continues on to this day. And in these games, you can romance a cute anime girl and make her your waifu. So logically, of course, people make porn of this, and Konami doesn't like that people made porn of this. So they go and sue all the distributors of the porn, including a case where they award over 2 million yen and the destruction of all of this media. And now don't get me wrong, I find it extremely unlikely that Saki would in any way be connected to Tokimeki Memorial, as Tokimeki Memorial didn't debut until 1994. But there is the potential that Saki's creators were taken out at some point due to Konami's legal warfare against this industry. And this is basically where we're at right now with this search. It's still completely uncertain whether or not this thing ever actually existed, and if it did exist, if it was preserved in any form. But all that being said, I think that it's really cool that this search has led to so much obscure media being rediscovered, and so many people falling in love with this grotesque content that they would have never otherwise been exposed to. But for now, I think that perhaps the closest we'll ever get to seeing Saki is this fan-created storyboard trailer. But anyway, that's all for now.
Hello, you're on the air.
Oh, okay. I was just wondering, Steve-O, can you tell me how to shot web, please?
Can I tell you how to shot web?
Yes, please. How do I shot web?
What the fuck is shot web?
Just tell me how to do it, please.
Who the fuck is this?
If this is the first time you've ever seen him, you probably won't believe me when I say that Tom Green was absolutely one of the most influential people of his time. When the Tom Green Show came to MTV in 1999, he almost immediately became the biggest thing on the planet. Part sketch comedy, part talk show, part prank show. A typical segment involved things like going to the store and buying condoms.
I'm just gonna buy these condoms. Because I'm planning on making love to a woman tonight. And I'm really excited about that. Okay?
Alright.
Or waking up his parents by putting an actual decapitated bullhead in their bed while making Godfather references.
Luca Brazzi sleeps with the fishes!
It was a relatively short run, but over the course of about a year and a half, he changed the course of comedy forever. For better or for worse, I mean, I just saw someone say that he was Logan Paul for millennials. I don't know how to feel about that. But there's no denying that he did pave the way for things like Jackass or Tim and Eric.
It's not funny!
Or Eric Andre. I've even seen people point out similarities to Nathan Fielder's work. And his influence doesn't just stop there. You see, years before Twitch, or even its predecessor, Justin TV, he'd go on to be one of the first people to do a live stream talk show from his own home, Tom Green Live, later known as Tom Green's House Tonight. A show that Joe Rogan has cited as the main inspiration behind starting his own podcast. But when I think of Tom Green's internet show, I don't think of Joe Rogan, nor any of his other celebrity guests like Steve-O or Tony Hawk. No, when I think of Tom Green's internet show, the guest I think of is this guy right here. No, not that guy, this guy. You see, Tom Green was a trailblazer in another very important way. Before the Church of Scientology, before Chris Chan, before Hal Turner, Tom Green was one of 4chan's very first targets, an experiment that would set the stage for decades to come. For today's video, let's take a look at Tom Green versus 4chan.
That's just because it was your show, but it's not your show, it's the Tom Green Show.
1996 was a strange year. You could sense that the overall vibe of culture was kind of shifting in an edgier direction, but it wasn't quite there yet. Jerry Springer was a year out from hitting his highest ratings peak. WWF was a year away from the Attitude Era, and we're a ways away from Dave Correa's generational defining drawing of Slipknot crucifying Fred Durst. I remember that summer, MTV started airing this show called Buzzkill. It was a prank show with these three guys, Dave, Travis, and Frank, who would get sent on these Mission Impossible style quests to fuck with people. Sure, prank shows have been a thing since the 40s, but this felt different. It was a little grittier, more like a reality show. And in some people's opinions, it was also meaner. For a lot of people, a big sticking point was that they never actually brought the victims in on the joke. They never did the whole, hey guys, you're on camera. They never did that. Whenever the prank was over, they just get in their van and ditch their costumes, and that was the end of it. And a lot of critics were put off by that. But despite what critics thought, the show was an instant hit for MTV, being out only by the dating show Singled Out before ultimately becoming the top show on the network. And then after just 21 episodes, the show just mysteriously vanishes, never to be spoken of again. Most TV networks would kill to have a surprise hit like Buzzkill. So what could have possibly happened? The truth wouldn't be revealed until 17 years later, in a piece by Sean Manning for The All where he spoke to the former cast members. They had already gotten fired after a segment for the second episode. Frank dresses up like Isaac Mizrahi for a fake fashion show. After explicitly being warned not to, he accidentally tricks Whitney Houston. His Isaac Mizrahi impression was just so convincing that she came up to him completely unprompted. And after she learned what happened, she swore she'd never work with MTV again. But ultimately, this wasn't his fault and the show was a smash hit, so they kind of forgot they fired them. But there was a bigger ongoing problem. In 1996, more people were just starting to get cell phones, so now they'd be filming a prank and people would call the cops. This had MTV worried about legal trouble. The final straw came when they were giving samples of a steak smoothie outside of Whole Foods. While pretending to be a customer, one of the boys faked a seizure. One of the bystanders gives him CPR and he pukes in their mouth. While this is going on, a concerned citizen calls 911 and that's the end of the show. Picture Marty McFly going, I guess you guys aren't ready for this yet. Because according to Travis, MTV would very quickly go on a mission to explicitly find a Buzzkill replacement. MTV would find this replacement in Tom Green. At the time, Tom Green was an up-and-coming comic in Canada, and over the past few years had produced over 75 episodes of his show for various networks, starting on public access. He clearly had solid work ethic and a ton of upward momentum. And this all goes parabolic in 1999 when the Tom Green Show makes its debut on MTV. And it's kind of funny that for all the shit MTV gave Buzzkill, Tom Green pushed things so much further.
Please be corn. Please be corn. Please be corn.
No, I don't want you to know.
You're not allowed to do that. But if you want to do it, just pick up the phone, hit the button that says page. Mom? Mom? Where are you, Mom? Mom? I'm lost. Mom? Mom, I'm lost.
In a lot of ways, Tom Green was kind of the precursor to the modern internet troll, with segments just built around seeing how far he can push people before they snap.
You heard of any illness or death caused as a result of people ingesting the mustard?
You don't want to buy bad mustard.
Anyone ever come in the store and gotten mustard in their eye? I got mustard in my eye! All right, thanks very much.
Like a lot of Tom Green's pranks at this point felt more Frank Hassel than they do Candid Camera. My favorite example of this is Undercutters, where he gets in his car and follows a pizza delivery driver, and he tries to sell a slightly cheaper pizza to the customer. This ends up with Tom getting chased by a guy with a hammer. There's also the time he paid for everything in pennies.
I should just pay with something smaller, since it's only $5. It's okay. Yeah. It's okay.
Or narrated people's lives with a megaphone.
Some people have commented we don't do enough observational humor on our show. You have purple hair. You're drinking some juice right now. I'm following you. You're going somewhere really fast. You have to get there quickly because if you don't, you're gonna be in big trouble. You're waiting for the bus right now.
Oh, and who could forget the time that he gave away his co-host Glenn Humplick's actual phone number on the show. A big part of it was also gross out stuff, like when he famously sucked the milk right out of a cow's udder. Unsurprisingly, the critics hated the show even more than they hated Buzzkill. But nobody cares what the critics think, and the show was a massive success. Like, it's hard to overstate how famous he was at the time. He's in commercials.
I broke it! You made me break my banana!
He's putting out music.
My bum is on the rail. Bum is on the rail. Look at me. My bum is on the rail.
He's in movies.
He doesn't. He's such an idiot.
You are a psycho.
And then everything is dragged to a screeching halt when he's diagnosed with testicular cancer. This is effectively the end of his show, spare for a cancer special where you see them take his ball out. It also delays his own movie that he'd been working on by 6 months, and even then he was still apparently in agonizing pain throughout the whole production. Of course, I'm talking about the infamous Freddy Got Fingered, which would hit theaters in April of 2001. BBC's Danny Graydon summarizes the film. Caning a disabled person's legs, falsely accusing someone of child molestation.
Well, at least I don't touch Freddy.
Hey, what?
Yeah, he touches my little brother. He fingers him.
Swinging a newborn baby by its umbilical cord, spattering walls with blood. Oh, and lest we forget, wagging a horse's genitals. Welcome, one and all, to the things that ex-MTV shock comedian Tom Green believes constitute hilarity. Although the divide between critics and fans was massive for the Tom Green show, the movie was a different story. There were a rare few critics who saw the movie for what it was, but basically nobody knew what to make of it at the time. It was nearly universally panned by both critics and fans alike.
It's a vomitorium of a movie starring Green as Gord, an obnoxious retard who makes it his life's work to freak out his dad, played with teeth-gnashing scorn by Rip Torn.
Oh, look, honey, our boy's a genius. He's rigged a pulley system so he can eat sausage and work on his stupid drawings.
I'm being creative? Now, if you'll excuse me, I still have some work to do. Daddy, would you like some sausage? Daddy, would you like some sausages?
It's a barely coherent series of events loosely tied together like you're watching a dream.
What the fuck is going on?
I'm underwater. Look, I found a treasure.
Get out of my goddamn scuba gear, you imbecile!
Oh no, the treasure! It went into that underwater cave!
Get out of the toilet!
But when you take a structure like that and you apply it to comedy, it almost feels like it's a parody of movies altogether. It's like Tom made this while all the while saying, I can't believe some idiot paid me to do this. The film's enjoyed a bit of a reappraisal in recent years, and at the time since, Tom's more or less said as much. He was famously the second person to accept a Razzie Award in person for the movie, and in 2024 he'd speak to Uproxx about it. It just seemed like the thing to do. I mean, at the time, the word trolling didn't exist, but making the movie was a massive troll. And what are we trolling for? We're trolling for that, right? So of course, I'm going to accept my awards. This is what we were doing. Again, you want to talk about things being a little ahead of the curve or whatever, you can say that or not about this movie, but that's what we were doing. We were trolling the entire industry. Tom, of course, would wind up being one of the first mainstream celebrities to learn all about that. But before he could, MTV tried to revive the Tom Green Show in 2003 as The New Tom Green Show, leaning more into the late-night talk show aspects. This was a very short-lived show, but it did give us a rare glimpse of an actually mad Tom Green. So for the show, he had a custom desk made that was designed to resemble Johnny Carson's desk from the 1960s. It cost $10,000 and he had to fight MTV to get them to pay for it. Then one episode, he had Jesse James Dupree of the band Jackal. So one of Jackal's most popular songs is the song The Lumberjack, in which Jesse plays a chainsaw solo. Jesse brings the chainsaw with him to the new Tom Green Show, and the first thing he does is take it to Tom Green's $10,000 Johnny Carson desk that MTV didn't want him to have. Tom spends the rest of the show seething with rage and taking sarcastic jabs at Jesse whenever he can.
So, tell me about your little rinky-dink show that you do. I mean, are you all right? Are you all right, Bert? Are you okay? What should I do here? You're a producer. You've been in television a long time. You produced the Jerry Springer Show. What should I do here? Should I act like this is cool? Like this dude came out here, up our desk, and I don't care? And then go on and have some interview where I'm really nice to him about his little rock and roll band? Or should I just move on and do what we were supposed to do?
This, of course, would not be the last appearance of Angry Tom Green. In June of 2006, Tom Green would partner with Mania TV for an internet call-in show called Tom Green Live, later renamed to Tom Green's House Tonight. Now, any call-in show, no matter who's hosting it, no matter what platform is on, is gonna invite prank callers. Usually they'll try to prevent this with call screeners and tape delay, but sometimes they make it through anyway. Tom Green took pride in not having a call screener. He thought it made for a better show. So he's getting the stream going with frequent appearances by celebrity friends like Steve-O and Tony Hawk. And they're enjoying the ability to say and do whatever they want without network executives or the FCC breathing down their necks. There's the occasional prank call as expected, but it's mostly people just excited to get to talk on the phone with these guys. A few months later though, the show gets the attention of 4chan. And this of course is where it always gets a little murky when talking about early 4chan history, because I'm really certain I would see the show getting posted to be before the big raid, but most sources seem to mark the very beginning of the pranks as August 16th of 2006. But the coverage of events on Biblioteca Anonymous seems to agree with my memory of events, saying that about 10% of the callers were 4chan pranks at first. In any case though, August 16th is when the actual big raid begins. There's very little that still survives of the actual event, aside from a few clips on YouTube, some obscure forum posts, and accounts of it on Encyclopedia Dramatica and Biblioteca Anonyma. But essentially on this day, you got a mix of people posting about their pranks on B and organizing an IRC, and the whole thing snowballs until essentially 4chan has taken over his entire show. Mostly just spamming him with memes like do a barrel roll.
A barrel roll.
Yeah, a barrel roll. On air.
A barrel roll.
Yeah, a barrel roll.
A barrel roll?
A barrel roll.
A barrel roll?
A barrel roll.
Or saying Desu over and over again, which is a meme that was from the anime Rosen Maiden. And of course, with the Habbo raids only just having happened the month prior, you also get a bunch of people saying pools closed. And while most people would start their call just by yelling the meme right at Tom, other people would try to lure him into a false sense of security first.
Oh yeah, hello, you're on the air.
Hey Tom, what's up?
Pretty good, man. What's going on?
Not too bad here. Just watching your show on the internet here. First time I've even seen this thing.
Awesome, man. So what are you doing today?
I'm not doing anything, just chilling out here in Red Deer, Alberta, actually.
Oh my gosh, Red Deer. I love Red Deer. You know, I've been to Red Deer many times.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're fat.
Tom Green as a fat N-word would of course become a staple of these raids. At the end of the show, Tom says, "Thanks to you assholes, this will no longer be a call-in show." Of course, the show that followed him couldn't function without callers. It was a women's advice show called Girl Talk.
How are you?
I'd just like to say, show tits or get the fuck out.
Bye. Shame on you!
Hi, I'm George Zimmer, CEO and co-founder of the Men's Warehouse. Hi, my name is Alex.
Hi, Alex.
Well, I don't know, I like this girl at school, but I'm always real shy when I try to talk to her. And I asked my mom about it, so she got scared and said, "You're going with your auntie and uncle to Bel Air."
Now, an important part of 4chan raids at this point in time, some people are very intent on keeping 4chan a super secret club. You know, rules 1 and 2, you don't talk about B. If anyone asks, you gotta say you're from E-Bomb's World. Which, that would eventually get E-Bomb's World sued, but that's for another video. That wouldn't happen this time, as someone called up Girl Talk and gave the game away.
Are you familiar with 4chan?
by any chance?
No, what is it?
It's a site on the internet, which is the reason why you guys get so many prank calls.
Oh!
At the time, there was a bit of a divide over the rules. Some people adhered to this stuff religiously, while others are like, the rules are just a joke. It was never meant to actually be taken seriously. There's already thousands of people on 4chan, you absolute LARPing morons. So whoever that caller was, he was essentially trolling that side of 4chan, and I can only imagine how butthurt they were listening to that. Of course, Tom Green wouldn't entirely go through with his threat to end call-ins. He'd do shows both with and without calls, and these pranks would persist throughout the next several years, often embarrassing Tom in front of his celebrity friends. It was a love-hate relationship. Tom, of course, was made aware of 4chan from day one, and as time passed, he would gradually develop more of an understanding of what was going on here. For example, you got this clip that seems to only still exist on a 10-year-old Gamer from Mars video of Tom Green explaining 4chan to Tony Hawk.
Hey, what's going on? You're on the air.
Hey, Tony Hawk, what's up?
Yo, what's up?
Hey, I want to ask you about a character on the new game you're going to make. I was wondering if you're going to put any mudkips on it.
Does this mean anything?
I don't know.
I don't even know what that means. Is he?
Probably not.
I don't know what that means. Okay. Hello, you're on the air. Does he say, I don't even know what that word means, so does he say something horrible there that I have to edit out at the end of the night?
I don't know.
No, it just makes no sense.
No.
Okay. Just makes no sense? There's a kid, yeah, it's a little thing about, it's a 4chan thing. It's kids on the internet, they have this group of kids and they like to say funny words like barrel roll or there's a video game move from Star Fox. Star Fox 20?
Star Fox 64.
Yeah, and they've been dogging me for a year. Gotta tell you, driving me nuts, actually. Sometimes I wake up in the middle of the night and I scream, 4chan!
Tom Green was actually the first person I would ever see attempt to pronounce the word meme in real life. I think he said Mimi. That clip though, like a lot of other clips, is long gone and it's been driving me crazy for years. At times, he'd even played directly to his newly found 4chan audience, like the time he recreated the Gentleman meme, or one show where he asked his audience to play the game, during which he promised to keep taking calls as long as his view count didn't drop. Of course, to keep him on forever, they just botted his views. Eventually, he'd get pissed off when people kept on yelling slurs at him, and he'd end the show by yelling phones are bullshit and ripping up his phone cable. And then after the show ended, his server got DDoSed. Which is a bit extreme, I guess, in comparison to things like the time they got him to put meat spin up on all his screens. And then there was another episode that was his way of trying to counter-troll the trolls. He announces a call-in episode and people are getting ready to get to business. He starts the episode by badly and obnoxiously playing the saxophone. Then he keeps playing. And then he keeps playing for hours. And he never opens up the phone lines and that's the end of the show. And he does this again the next day. May those guys waste their time. March of 2009 was a particularly tumultuous time in the relationship between 4chan and Tom Green. On the 2nd of March, Tom had Married with Children's David Faustino and Corin Nemec of Parker Lewis Can't Lose on as guests. He orders some pizza from a local spot called Pizza Land. The IRC server decides that they're going to cancel his order and instead have $79 worth of pizza from Pizza Hut sent to his house. You know, make him question his sanity a little bit. Be like, oh, did I order from the wrong place? You know, a little bit of classic gaslighting before people started overusing therapy words in real life. However, they didn't succeed in canceling the original order. The call to Pizza Land is actually on YouTube, and you can tell the caller starts to feel bad as the old pizza man is on the verge of tears.
He's not gonna pay for your pizza.
No, it's gonna be...
I mean, we love Pizza Land. We order from you guys all the time, but...
I know, and you love my pizza, but, you know, why did you do this one today for me? I don't understand.
Well,
But the Pizza Hut order does arrive first, and as Tom realizes what happened, he admits that he actually thought this one was pretty funny. He pays for the extra pizza and enjoys it. This stunt would be repeated months later with $450 of sushi. Despite his enjoyment of the pizza prank though, I guess a little while later he realized the implications of having something sent right to his house. His address had been leaked a while ago, but I think this was the first time anyone actually made direct contact like that. So a few days later, he makes a blog post noting that he likes the attitude of the prankers, but anyone who takes things too far will be reported to the FBI Cyber Crimes Division. We have a very serious computer forensics team on the case starting today. You will be found and prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. Keep it cool. Go prank C-SPAN and send me the tape. And they did.
Next call's from Oneonta, New York, Republican line.
Not too long ago, I met a woman from Iraq. She was a citizen over there, and she had to leave her family behind because over there in Iraq, everyone was getting barrel rolled.
You guys rock. All of you. Even the guys at B. I love you guys. Funny shit. TG. Ultimately, I think all things considered, Tom Green handled the pranks pretty well. Although obviously his haha love you guys demeanor in that blog post wasn't how he was feeling all the time. What he was experiencing was completely unprecedented. I mean, sure, 4chan didn't invent prank calls, but I don't think there had been a situation like this before in all of human history where you have literally hundreds, if not thousands of people gathering to prank one specific guy in real time for years. And I don't think Tom Green ever actually went through with a lawsuit, you know, unlike certain other people who will be covered in a future video. Looking back on some of the old footage, some of the few clips that have avoided deletion throughout the years, it seems like he did what he could as a performer to try and make it work.
A barrel roll.
A barrel roll.
And I have to imagine that on some level, especially now with this situation so many years behind him, that he might have felt some kind of kinship towards his prankers. Being that in some way, Tom Green kinda was the original troll, and then he has the next generation taking it and turning it around back on him. But I think some insight into the approach he took here can be gleaned from his 2020 appearance on Legion of Skanks, where he speaks about the chainsaw incident.
I got mad, but while I was getting mad, to me in my head, I was thinking, this is fucking awesome. Comes up on Facebook, and all the people in the comments are, oh, why are you mad? You used to cut desks and you can't even take it when someone cuts your desk. They didn't understand that there was this entire dialogue going on in my head where I was happy that I was mad because it's funnier if I'm mad than if I'm not mad. So that's the situation.
I'll tell you
what I've been trying to explain this for 15 years.
Whether or not he's being honest here is up to interpretation, but you look at the interview after the guy chainsawed his desk, and you look at a lot of the 4chan clips, and it seems like this is actually the case to me. But anyway, that's all for now. This video actually started as a smaller segment in a video I was working on about Hal Turner, so if that interests you, you're going to want to subscribe. If you went out and asked the average person who, you know, lives a productive, fulfilling life outside of the internet and in the real world what they thought about 4chan, they'd probably describe it as some kind of online hive of villainy filled to the brim with hackers and bad words. The emboldeners of society's worst elements. Terrorizers of many a van and public pool. But the truth is, as far back as you can go, 4chan has always had a little bit of a soft underbelly. And this soft underbelly often manifested itself as a love of cats. And God help anybody who did anything bad to cats. So for this episode of Tales from the Internet, I present to you the story of the cat abuser, Kenny Glenn. I want to talk a bit about an old tradition on 4chan, a little something called Catterday. What was Catterday exactly? Well, when Saturday came around, you went to 4chan and you posted cats. Oftentimes with bold white impact font text. Pretty simple, right? And then, you know, it spreads to that shitty fucking lolcat site, which is basically all just re-uploaded 4chan content, and you got friends coming to be like, hey dude, you gotta check out this lolcat stuff, it's so random. And then you have Ike and Has Cheeseburger, which comes around and it completes the gentrification of Catterday, but you know what, it wasn't a hill worth dying on 12 years ago. I'm not gonna get hung up on that right now. Back to the point, 4chan liked cats, because who doesn't like cats? And it was on February 15th of 2009 when 4chan's affinity for cats was put to the test, when 2 videos were uploaded to a YouTube channel named Glenn's Spam 1. I'm not going to show you the full videos, but I will describe what happened in them. The videos depict a kid in pajamas and a balaclava going by the name Timmy, and he's holding a little gray cat. While being recorded by another kid, he announces that he's going to be going into his laboratory. Once he's in his laboratory, the kid Timmy grabs the cat named Dusty and repeatedly slams him against the wall. And in the other video, Timmy repeatedly sprays Dusty with an unknown liquid. The videos find their way onto B quickly after being uploaded, where people immediately spring into action trying to figure out who this kid is. Looking through the comments of one of the YouTube videos, the name Mike Glenn emerges. This leads people to find a person named Mike Glenn in upstate New York. And Mike Glenn of upstate New York quickly begins receiving threatening messages. However, Mike Glenn turned out to be a false lead. The harassment got so bad that eventually the local police department had to contact the news to release a statement that Mike Glenn had absolutely nothing to do with these videos. And for a while it seemed like this investigation might have just been a dead end because there was so little that could be found from that YouTube channel. But a little bit more digging led people to another Glenn Spam 1 account, not on YouTube, but on a site called HaitiWow.com. And the Glenn Spam 1 account on HaitiWow.com had a little bit more information. Namely, the zip code 73505, Lawton, Oklahoma. But that still only gives so much information, right? I mean, Lawton, Oklahoma has a population of nearly 94,000 people. What are you gonna do, just go up and knock on every single door? But a few users had a theory that Glenn from Glenn Spam 1 was perhaps Timmy's last name. So they started searching around on Facebook for the perpetrator, and after a little bit of digging, they found someone. Not Timmy Glenn, but a person named Kenny Glenn. But considering how badly things went with the Mike Glenn lead, we needed absolute confirmation that this was the kid. How could such a confirmation be achieved? By comparing frames from the video to pictures on the Facebook page. And by comparing the green carpet, the wood skirting, the yellow wall, and the musical instruments in the background, positive identification was achieved. The Kenny Glenn found on Facebook was in fact Timmy from the video. And once the identity of Kenny Glenn was discovered, 4chan users began to post pictures of themselves and their cats with threats to Kenny Glenn. And other sites began to get in on it. Dig, Reddit, Facebook groups. The websites KennyGlenn.com and NeverForgetDusty.com were created to follow the story and mobilize people against Kenny Glenn. Other people began to dig and found increasingly identifying information about Kenny, including his MySpace profile, old racist YouTube comments, his parents' names, their phone numbers, the names of their businesses, and their home address and home phone number. With the phone number, of course, people began to call, and the first person who got through got Kenny Glenn's mother on the line. After getting on the phone with Kenny Glenn's mother and explaining what her son has done, she said that this was unacceptable and he would face immediate punishment. This punishment would take the form of having his bike taken away. Not exactly a satisfactory outcome. Unsatisfied, people started having pizzas delivered to their house, signing them up for magazine descriptions, and oh yeah, they did call the cops. But the thing is, when the cops got involved, they were given the wrong address, so after that, they started to ignore any more correspondence about the cat. See, the pizzas made their way to the right address, but the police, wrong address. Thankfully, however, the local news also got involved, who contacted the police once again. This time they gave the police the right address, and the next day KSW News of Lawton, Oklahoma reported this. Comanche County. 2 teenage brothers accused of beating a cat will meet Tuesday with investigators and the Comanche County District Attorney. The courthouse was closed Monday for President's Day, but Comanche County Sheriff Kenny Stradley said the teens will face charges of animal cruelty from District Attorney Robert Schultz's office. Stradley says the teens uploaded a video to YouTube that shows one of them beating a cat named Dusty while his brother ran the camera. 7 News called Sheriff Stradley Sunday afternoon to find out if he was investigating the incident, and he said he had not heard about it. He came to the 7 News station and watched the video. Within hours, his team identified the suspects and met with their parents. Stradley says they are furthering their investigation to see if the 2 brothers abused other animals in addition to Dusty. 7 News discovered proof this wasn't the first time they abused the cat. The local sheriff then released another statement. Update. Sheriff Stradley of Lawton, Oklahoma said, "The horrifying day may be over for the cat, but it is just getting started for its abusers. We'll put it together and take it to the DA. It will be up to the DA whether or not he files charges or not. Our job is to put the investigation together as a case and take it to the DA, and that's what we'll do." Stradley says the teens responsible were released to their parents by the DA, and they and their lawyer will meet with investigators to determine their fate on Tuesday. Dusty, the cat, is alive and was taken to a veterinarian where it will remain until the investigation is complete. And during their investigation, it was found that there is actually another video, this time with the Glenn brothers abusing a black and white cat. Both cats were taken into custody and it was said that they would not be returned to the Glenn's home. And a lot of people were really eager to find out about Dusty's status, prompting them to contact the veterinarian, but the veterinarian started to get flooded prompting KSW News to send a letter to neverforgetdusty.com. The sheriff is a bit worried about a lot of phone calls being made to the vet. He's concerned about overloading the office that's trying to help Kitty. Dusty's in the care of private vet, don't know who, and the sheriff's not saying. Please tell everyone to keep checking, and the second we have video, it'll be up. We're all quite excited about helping get information up quickly. I also noticed that some folks were concerned about the station not covering the racially charged stuff too, but the focus of the story was Dusty. I appreciate you keeping everything posted and updated. It's hard work, I know. It seems as if everyone scratched everyone's back in this case of abuse. The tubes, the news, authorities. As you must imagine, I'm online all day, and if I see something in our area dramatic like this, I'm all over it. Credit for the coverage on the news should go to our weekend crew, who had they not made the call, the video may not have made it up until Monday. Everyone saved Dusty the cat, and I'm proud of us all. You all are great. Keep up the good fight. We love Dusty too. So what wound up being the fate of the cat abuser Kenny Glenn? A few days later, neverforgetdusty.com received this anonymous tip. Jan Stratton is the director of news at KSWO, the local news channel, which is updating all the others, except they haven't bothered. Funny that because in small town Lawton, home to the Glens, Jen Stratton is married to Judge William Bill Stratton. And they and their little circle of legal and business types just happen to be best friends with, yes, you guessed it, the Glens. I think this needs to be out there. There isn't going to be justice for Dusty. They are just waiting for it to quieten down and give the boys a slap on the wrist. By which time it will be too late to do anything. The Glens have a lot of power in town. And about a year later, the owner of KennyGlenn.com received another update. Update January 12, 2010. We have just received this troubling piece of information from a trustworthy local source. My name is Removed. I live in Lawton, Oklahoma, and I have first-hand knowledge of the fact that the two cats being abused in that video have not gone anywhere but back home to his abuser. I know for a fact that the Glens and Sheriff Stradley are best buddies. I have witnessed Kenny, Christopher Glenn, telling the sheriff that I'll see you when you come over to the house later. Nobody has been punished. The cats are still where they came from in the first place. For personal reasons, I can't give you more info than that. I am just letting you know that absolutely nothing has happened to the animal abuser. The media ordeal was all a big show to make the public think that the abuser got punished. Clearly, this was an outcome that wasn't satisfactory to most of the people following this story. Well, what are you gonna do? Well, a few people came up with the idea of going after his father's oil company. How you can help. Seeing how Kenny Christopher Glenn is currently escaping any punishment, a concerned reader of our website sent us this email outlining a way for ordinary people to help bring Kenny to justice. I have an observation to make. Few have so far noticed the way to permanently punish him would be by punishing his daddy's oil company. Why and how are two questions that come to mind, so let me elaborate. Why? Well, forget the rumors that Ken's pappy Mark was described online as allegedly an abusive, arrogant racist, supposedly involved in shady business practices and corruption. Those are rumors. They may or may not be true, but if the company is hurt financially, then Pappy may decide that there isn't enough money to buy Kenny a new dirt bike, TV, car, especially if it's made clear that the Kenny fallout is the reason for this financial hurt. And an unhappy Pappy Mark will definitely make it clear to Kenny that he's not a happy camper. Essentially, I guess the idea was to make his father so mad that he beats him. How? Well, for starters, just last year the company, Glen Oil, got a $10 million contract with the US government. So, one way would be to read the online documents that mention it. Mark even has a leaflet online where he boasts about one of his big contracts. Find the contact info for the companies and especially the government institutions that let Mark make money and send them information to their managers, their PR departments, the local media, the local congressmen. Simply and politely ask them if they believe it is the right choice to do their business with a company with such bad press, whose name is now almost automatically associated with animal torture, especially in such competitive times of bad economy, when many more deserving companies are ready to make better offers than Mark's company. Mail the directors in the government institution that have the oil contracts with Mark Glenn. Phone the local congressman asking them if it's advisable for taxpayer-supported companies to give their money to tarnished firms. Inform your local media. Send the information to the private companies that have contracts with Pappy Mark. In fact, if you know any companies likely to have oil, gasoline, etc. related contracts, especially in Oklahoma, mail them in advance, just in case Pappy Mark tries to do business with them. Just remember, politeness, facts, information, punish Kenny through the Pappy's wallet. This is probably the most 2009 attempt at internet activism that I've ever seen, and I'm pretty sure it didn't actually have much of an effect. I kind of doubt that anyone even said anything to these companies. And as far as I could tell, Glenn Oil is still doing well. But that still doesn't answer the question of what actually did happen to Kenny Glenn, and honestly, I can't give you a 100% verified answer. However, in 2016, a Reddit user emerged claiming to be Kenny Glenn. The first thing the account did was respond to a thread discussing the idea of preventatively detaining animal abusers due to their likeliness of eventually becoming serial killers. Kenny Glenn here. Still haven't killed anyone, but I'll keep you posted. A few months later, he would go on to do an AMA. Kenny Glenn here, AMA. 8 years ago, I did something horrific, but there are many misconceptions about what actually happened and who I am that I would like to clear up. And one of the top rated responses simply asking him to explain himself. I'm gonna put it out there and say, as a massive cat fan, it upsets me to think about what happened. But at the same time, you have balls coming on here. Why? What I did was wrong. I made a mistake, but my life should not be defined by it. That is not who I am. I am here to clear any misconceptions about me and somehow show that I am not a monster. Dude, I admire you taking the hit for what you did and still putting yourself out there. That takes guts, and it's a measure of how much of a decent human you can be, by what I'm going to assume is a barrage of questions soon enough. Though my life should not be defined by it is a difficult one these days. It's on the net, and it will be for a long time to come. I think that saying from years ago doesn't work in today's world. Fun facts not reported and misconceptions. I did not hurt Dusty. It was all for show, but nonetheless abuse. However, I over-dramatized my slaps, yelled, and turned the shower on to make him meow. The bottle I sprayed him with was nothing but water too. A spray bottle for my dumb emo hair back then. Soon after the event, we took him to the vet where they said he was perfectly healthy and one happy feline. The cat was not taken from us. I adopted him out. I was not arrested for animal abuse. I was charged with public outrage. My parents did not pay for my fines. I worked and paid for all my fines, fees, and my lawyer. Thousands of dollars. I also did 100 plus community service hours and volunteered at the local animal clinic for over a year. What happened in your point of view? Bored, stupid teenager trying to get a reaction from people. What happened is what happened, and I am dumb for it and regret it to this day. And it should be reiterated that this account was never verified, so we don't know that it was actually Kenny Glenn, but I do think it's very likely that this is the true outcome of what happened to him. Oh, and he did make one other post from the account. Today I learned you can purchase human leather products. Take that for what you will. And thus concludes the story of the cat abuser Kenny Glenn.